My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday,
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there on this Monday morning. Heartbreak for England.
Spain take home the European Championship.
An agonising defeat as Gareth Southgate and his team fall short at the last hurdle.
OK, here come the numbers. 30 years of hurt become 58, which will now move on to 60 years of hurt, at least, unless we win the World Cup in 2 years' time. But let's be honest, England were beaten by the better side, Spain, yesterday.
In other news,
Donald Trump speaks out after the attempted assassination with a plea for unity, claiming he was saved by God alone.
as President Biden calls to lower the temperature of political rhetoric during his Oval Office address.
Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here.
And a royal return to Wimbledon. The Princess of Wales makes her second public appearance this year at the men's final yesterday.
A new week, but the weather seems stuck in the same pattern, with heavy rain and thundery downpours on the cards for some of us. Join me later for the details.
It's a minute after 6 o'clock. A very good morning to you on this Monday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, football is not coming home. An agonising game for England, beaten 2-1 in the European Championship final last night.
Yes, 58 years of hurt continues. Paul Coit is here with all of us. And frankly, Paul, the better team won.
They did. I've said this too many times. I've seen this film a million times before. We always have the hope before these games, but whether there was the true belief, you could try and manufacture that belief and think, you know what, this is it. This is going to be the one. The amount of people that I know that went out to Berlin, people that just got any flight and they got boats over and any way way they could get there, just to be there for it. But it's then when you question it straight after the game and think, was it really worth that trip after that performance? Because the performance just wasn't good enough by England.
Well, I'll tell you, the second half began and Spain tore England apart down the left wing.
Absolutely.
And no one plugged it. No one blocked it, and both goals came from the left wing.
Yeah, Nico Williams split them in two straight off the bat, so already they're on the back foot. And it looked like for that next 10, 15 minutes, you think this is going to be a landslide. We're in all sorts of trouble. But then the change happened, and then Harry Kane was taken off and thought, well, OK, maybe something's going to happen now. Foden as well, and Cole Palmer came on. Now, he changed things in the last game against the Netherlands and put that ball through for Ollie Watkins to score, and scored just the most fantastic goal. Came out of the blue, and that is the time, as England fans, as everybody think, now, go on, let's move on and try and get a second, because the momentum was with them at that point, but they didn't. That's the problem. Sat back, there were mistakes then at the back, and then 2 minutes from the end, Spain scored the winner. No England fan can look back on that and go, well, I mean, we look back at all the semi-finals and the few finals that there's been before, and you think, oh, it was so unlucky, and this happened and that happened. There is no argument. There's nothing anybody can say. Nobody can look back and go, oh, if only that had changed, because we're beaten by the better side. That's
Well, what is coming home today? Jack Carson, our man, our reporter, who is there. So let's go to him. Jack's in Berlin, and he'll bring us up to date with what's the mood there today.
He looks all right, though, doesn't he? You look OK, Jack.
Had any sleep?
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. About a few hours, so it's feeling even more raw and even more rough, I think, this morning. I think my own expectation going into this, I think, like you say, we all kind of realised that Spain were going to be the toughest side that we'd have faced in this competition. Of course, coming in the final would mean it would hurt a little bit more. I wasn't personally as devastated losing last night. Of course I was, but not as much, I think, because of how soon we were in another European Championship final. I think that kind of maybe took the edge off, of course, how devastating the loss to Spain was, given also the fact of how badly we played. You know, Gareth Southgate in his post-match press conference was quite open and honest, as he kind of always is, really, and said we just didn't keep the ball well enough, and you can't just chase a team like Spain around the pitch for kind of 60, 70 minutes and not really feel it towards the end, where Spain looked like they still had that energy, and we just looked like we were just dropping further and further back. And of course, the conversation really this morning is, of course, turning to Gareth Southgate's own future within this England side. Does he stay on? Of course, lots of former footballers like Rio Ferdinand and other pundits saying the FA have got a big decision to make, because on that one hand, he has been England's most successful manager in recent times, to take us to successive finals, to take us to a semi-final of a World Cup and a quarter-final. If you'd said that 10, 15 years ago, you would have snapped that person's hand off if you could take that deal and see England, progress and become, this great team within international football again. But again, it came down to the players on the pitch, and it felt a little bit more, maybe, upon reflection across this tournament, that we'd been a little bit too individual, not so much great as a team, having to use those individual players and that quality rather than as a team take those risks, be brave. But Ollie Watkins, of course, who was substituted on 60 minutes for Harry Kane yesterday, talked about how much Southgate has brought this group together, the togetherness that they've got. He's talking about the unbelievable 7 weeks that he's had, but of course, England weren't easy to watch. Harry Kane as well, speaking after the game, saying that he loves Gareth Southgate and the team wanted to win it so badly for him, but of course they just felt short. Southgate himself commented on his future as well, the privilege and the opportunity to have got to another final, but he can't help but realise, how much this hurts right now. It's too early for him, he says, to make a decision. He'd been questioned on it during the tournament as well, and he'd said at that time that he was too emotionally involved in this tournament, but it will take some months and take some weeks for Gareth Southgate to decide what's next for him.
Thank you. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
I tell you. I'll tell you what, though. Jack said, you snap your arm off or your hand off or whatever you take off to actually get to a semi-final. I wouldn't. To win a final would be one thing. It's all very well getting there, but you've got to win it. There's no point.
But is it just a bit of a thankless job? You're never going to be popular unless you win everything to be the England.
I think to win anything, actually, Isabel will take anything.
Fair enough.
Do you know what I thought was good? What's his name? The goalie.
Jordan Pickford.
Yeah, Jordan Pickford.
He was one of the few that had a very good game.
I thought he had a good tournament.
So did I.
Very, very good tournament. And why is he stuck at Everton? Why is he there for?
Hello, Manchester United scouts are hovering already.
Well, I would take him.
Yeah.
No,
I thought he had a very good tournament. There were a few that didn't. I don't think Declan Rice played very well yesterday. I mean, I don't want to single anybody out and saying, well, they weren't good enough. People will talk about Harry Kane and the reason it didn't work for him. But on the whole, the team weren't good enough. We had moments. We didn't have whole games.
You had certain amount of luck at various stages, and people put it down to great tactical nous and things. You think, well, if the substitutions had been made earlier, of
course,
the score could have been different. But there we go. That's it. Not to be.
Yep.
And we'll talk again. We've got some guests today.
We do. We'll speak to Mark Lawrenson. Who else do we have? Actually, we're going to speak to Mark England, who's the chef de mission for the Olympics.
Right.
Who will join. He'll probably have a few things to say about that. Because I'm giving up on football and going purely Olympics.
Purely
after
Olympics
today.
now, and he's responsible for getting the British team.
That's right.
All together and all the logistics.
Because after what I said to you a little while ago, for 4 years' time, he is the guy that we need to speak to find the sport that suits us. Because I don't think it's over for us yet. And talking of which, Peter Shilton will be with us as well. Shilts is back.
Excellent.
So it's, you know what it is? It's closure is what we're going to have. We're going to talk about it, get it out of the system, and then for tomorrow we can forget about the whole
What a
thing.
huge news day it was. Of course, we had the Euros, we had the Wimbledon final, but we all woke up to the shocking news from the United States, which is where we're going to focus now. And Donald Trump has spoken out after yesterday's attempted assassination on his life.
Writing on his Truth social media platform, Trump vowed evil will not prevail as he called for unity, and he claims God saved his life.
Well, President Biden echoed sentiments there of unity in an Oval Office address, calling for the political temperature to be lowered.
Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace.
I thought President Biden spoke very well over the weekend, whether he was reading on autocue or whatever. He gave good thoughts and all of that. Now, former Nevada Republican Party chairwoman Amy Tarkanian joins us now. Amy, very nice to talk to you again. Thanks for coming back on the show. What a shocker this was.
Yes, it was. And it was extremely scary. And this is only the second time it's happened in my lifetime. The last was roughly 43 years ago or so when there was an assassination attempt on then President Ronald Reagan, and I was only a child. So this is something that's not common, thankfully, because this was terrifying. And unfortunately, not only did it scare the nation and the world, but unfortunately, the shooter did injure a couple of those who were in attendance on top of President Trump, and as well murdered an innocent individual. So this was something that was unprecedented. It was terrifying. And I'm grateful that the members of the House are asking for an investigation, and the FBI and CIA are taking this very, very seriously.
The victim's been named as a father of 2 girls and a firefighter, Corey Comparatori, who went to church every Sunday and was believed to be a big Donald Trump fan. I think since he's been named, we ought to pay tribute to him, obviously doing his best to protect his family in that situation. And that bullet clearly was not destined for him.
The thing that amazed me about that bullet is, you know, Amy, how on earth does it strike Trump and yet carry on and probably kill this man behind him? But how can you come so close?
Luckiest man alive.
Yeah, incredible.
Right. Absolutely, and it's mind blowing, but it's devastating, and the entire thing is gut wrenching. And so the fact that this shooter, this evil, sick individual, was able to somehow finagle his way up on top of that building is going to be very interesting to see what the outcome is on this investigation. How was this individual able to slip through the cracks? when you had so many other officials on the ground. You had officials in the air. You had officials, the other snipers on adjacent buildings. I mean, it's pretty incredible that there wasn't more that were injured.
And what happens now in America? It feels as though this is a real moment of sort of crossroads, and whether or not people decide, OK, we really need to calm down, we need to find our common ground, we need to pull together, or this hardens positions. I mean, I think just as an observer, it looks as though this is probably going to secure him the presidency, just in terms of popularity. But in terms of the public debate and whether or not people can be more respectful and you know, be friendly to people who have different political opinions, which way do you see this going?
Well, I'm hopeful. I'm actually very proud of both sides in the way that they have responded. You had people from the left and the right in government positions who immediately took to social media to express their thoughts, their prayers, their concerns for those involved, for President Trump and his family, for the nation overall. And I thought that was fantastic. I liked both President Trump's and President Biden's remarks that were posted either through, social media or email, or the fact that President Biden decided to address the nation, I thought in a very calm, cool demeanor, even keel tone, which was very measured, and I thought it was on point. Now, will these two gentlemen and everyone who are surrounding them, will they continue this, a couple weeks out from now? I would hope so, but time will tell, because I will say that I think the toxicity and the anger and the frustration that has been pent up in so many individuals for quite some time, I'd say even more so within the last couple of administrations, it's now just come to fruition. It's almost been like a volcano. It's been pent up. And so I think that's why you're seeing so many people who are misbehaving and feel that it's okay now to either name call, bully, disrespect one another, belittle one another. And I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call.
President Trump today, he will be attending the Republican convention that is happening.
That is correct. He's not slowing down. In fact, he even was reported as attending a UFC fight, even did a round of golf. And so, he's moving full steam ahead, and I guess he's healing extremely well. And, he's ready to continue on with the fight.
Amy, thanks very much indeed. Thank you. Good hearing from you. Right, other news stories coming in. Here we are. Foreign Secretary David Lammy has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza during his first trip to the region since the general election. Mr. Lammy held talks with the Israeli Prime Minister before announcing the UK will provide an additional £5 million worth of funding for Gaza.
The Princess of Wales has returned to Wimbledon, joined by her daughter, Princess Charlotte, where she presented the trophy to the winner of the men's final. It marks her second public appearance of the year since her treatment for cancer began.
American actress Shannon Doherty has died at just 53 years of age after battling breast cancer. She became a household name when she joined the cast of Little House on the Prairie at just 11 years old, before going on to star in Beverly Hills 90210 and Heathers.
Glorious weather at the Wimbledon final yesterday, finally, after such a damp tournament. It was great to see the sun shining. What is in store for the rest of the week, though? Jonathan Vautry has all the details.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week often gives you the chance to start afresh. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't quite caught the memo. Stuck in the same pattern, I'm afraid. We've got another area of low pressure quickly moving its way into southwestern areas today. This is going to be bringing some very heavy rainfall. Thundery, torrential downpours are possible, and as a result, there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales. Certainly some localised flooding and travel disruption is possible, so take care. Some of that rain just pushing pushing into southeastern areas of England as well, but the northern half of the UK faring better today with some sunny spells and temperatures responding to that 20 to 21 degrees Celsius here, so feeling a bit more pleasant and warm. But as we head towards that evening rush hour period, please do again take care, because that area of heavy rain will be moving its way into Wales, parts of the Midlands as well. Certainly something to watch out for before you head home later on. The sunshine across Northern Ireland, Northern England just turning a bit hazier into the afternoon with a cloud around, but generally a few showers across Scotland to watch for, but many of us staying dry here, and certainly the Highlands getting off with a decent amount of sunshine still later on in the evening. Just that cloud lingering across the Northern Isles to make it a bit duller and drizzlier here. The area of rain will slowly push its way northwards, but in some ways grind to a halt across parts of North Wales into northern England over towards Yorkshire and the Humber as well. So some further downpours possible here during the overnight period. With all the cloud, though, it is going to be quite a mild night. Generally temperatures holding around 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. That rain will just still be lingering around first thing on Tuesday, gradually pushing its way off towards the North Sea. And behind that, we will start to see some sunny spells and showers developing. Some of those showers, again, could be quite heavy, with the risk of further thunderstorms in there, particularly across the eastern portions of England and up towards Scotland as well. Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. Wednesday looks like it could be a slightly drier day for many of us, but there is further rain that will be quickly moving in from the west. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Great British Giveaway is valued at £30,000. It's our biggest cash prize of the year.
Have a think about what you might do with that cash. But before you do that, here are all the details about how it could be yours.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You know, when we give out all these figures on productivity and whatever, it's going to be rubbish for July. Absolutely. Everybody's cream crackered today, up late last night, alcohol playing a big part, a lot of people booking days off, a lot of people taking days off.
Our makeup artist this morning said to me that her children's primary school sent a note to all saying, don't worry, don't come in till 10 a.m. I can believe it. Don't worry about being educated. You stay up and watch the football.
Watch a bit of footy, yeah. But anyway, there's no point appealing to you or talking to you because you'll all be in bed.
Exactly.
Drunk.
If you're up
hungover
watching us this morning,
at least
let us know.
See you at lunchtime. Paul Coyte, we'll see him next. He'll be talking more about sport, that Wimbledon final yesterday as well.
Amazing.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In World War I, 309 men from Britain and the Commonwealth never came home because they'd been shot at dawn. The majority were killed for desertion, cowardice and sleeping at post. Appearing at their court-martials and told they'd brought shame on their country, these men had no opportunity to defend themselves and were executed by a firing squad. The National Memorial Arboretum launched a fundraising campaign to restore the memorial, which has stood for more than 20 years.
Thank you to your viewers for their support for the fundraising campaign, and thanks to the generosity of so many people, we've been able to replace all 309 of the posts that represent those young men that were shot in the First World War. Restoration of this really precious memorial.
The centrepiece of the memorial is the young soldier, blindfolded and facing his execution. In September 1916, Private Harry Farr was ordered to the front. Already suffering from shell shock, he was overwhelmed and refused his orders. He was court-martialed, and in a trial lasting only 20 minutes, he was sentenced to death. On the day of his execution, he faced the firing squad without a blindfold. Janet Booth is Private Farr's granddaughter and was part of the public campaign to have those who were shot at dawn officially pardoned.
When I asked my gran, do you know where I could find Harry's grave? And she looked at my mother, and there was this sort of look between them, and then she said, well, he hasn't got a grave because they didn't warrant, he deserved one because he was shot as a coward and had let his country down. We can come here as a family and pay our respects to him, and also for all the other families, it's somewhere to come and remember their loved ones.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
New balls, please. Yeah, but the same old Paul Coit.
Yeah,
and
new sports, please.
Yeah. So this is the Wimbledon final. Men's final was yesterday.
Carlos Alcaraz versus Novak Djokovic, the number 2 against the number 3. Interestingly, it's Alcaraz who was the number 3 seed and Djokovic number 2. And it was the repeat of last year when Carlos Alcaraz won. Earlier on, I was thinking, probably like I was thinking, it's nailed on for England. It's nailed on for Novak Djokovic to win this tournament. But Alcaraz blew him away.
Djokovic didn't show up, really, did he? Apart from a couple of little... We were just talking about the championship points that he sort of... You could see Alcaraz was choking a bit. But apart from that, he outshone him 3 straight sets. At one point, I thought, actually, come on, Djokovic, at least take 1 set. Well, this is all going to be a bit embarrassing.
Well, it was looking like that because we were like an hour in, and then the amount... The people that go to the... That managed to get tickets for the Wimbledon final, thinking, we're going to have an amazing game, and it could have all been over in an hour and a half. So 6-2, 6-2, first 2 sets go to Alcaraz. I mean, he's 21 years old. He's a kid. So he's already won the French Open. Now he's won Wimbledon straight after that. By the way, there are 6 other tennis players that have done the double of Wimbledon and the French Open in the same year. Could you give me a few of them?
Jimmy Connors.
No, but you're in the ballpark.
McEnroe.
No, but very close again.
Really?
I'm thinking the other one.
Oh. Borg.
Borg is one.
Oh, OK. I was going to say, because he also got lots of titles under the age of 21. There's only 4 people that have got as many titles as him under 21, which is Bjorn Borg.
Yeah.
But I can't remember.
That's another quiz.
I know, but that's the only
Don't
one
do your
I
own
know.
Quiz. This is
OK, doing my own quiz.
You can't do a quiz and then go, actually, I've got another question for you, mister.
I don't know the answer.
Right, so Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic. Surprise, surprise, the big 3. The other one is Rod Laver. Rod Laver, who was also there, who happened to see it.
Was he?
He's there at Wimbledon every year.
I wonder how old he is.
He's over 103, I think. He's
Was he the one they zoomed in on and he was licking and rubbing and it was really like...
I hope it wasn't him, no.
Well,
he was licking and rubbing.
Well, they were sort of zoomed in on one of these old professionals.
Old fellas.
Yeah. And it was like, give him a second, because he was obviously uncomfortable.
Oh, he was just adjusting his
Yeah, but his tongue was out and he was having
my goodness,
and I thought,
no, I don't know whether that was Rod.
Cut away.
God, dear, no, well, poor old Rod. But anyway, the other thing is that Novak Djokovic, he had an operation in June, didn't he? It didn't look like he was going to play for like 6 or 7 weeks. It looked like the Olympics was where he was going to head because that's the only thing he hasn't won. 24 titles, still 1 short of Margaret Court, has got 25. So I don't know whether that 25th is going to come. And also, at Wimbledon titles, he's 1 shy of Federer as well.
But no one was talking about that injury until the final. He was making everybody else look...
Oh, I think because he's got that knee thing, hasn't he?
He played really well until... yesterday. Everyone else, sort of was in his shadow.
But how do we feel about Novak Djokovic as a person? Because I think
it's a very nice. I agree with you.
You like him?
That he's initially you think what a nasty bit of work he is. But he's a very nice person.
He did a lovely interview afterwards with Annabel Croft. And
I've
was very
liked this
gentlemanly.
the whole time.
Anyone that calls his children angels and was just so sweet about his kids, that was mush, wasn't I?
See, he's good. And then I think, is this real? Is this not? But I thought he was very gracious in defeat because that's when true colours will show. So if you're really annoyed and angry, but he was very gracious about it. Then we had the problems, didn't we, with the crowd, which was last week.
Yeah.
And then he turned because it was the boos, which actually people were shouting "Rune." And then he did you see the violin thing that he did where it was his daughter's birthday and he had the tennis racket and the crowd thought he was actually doing this violin to them, or is it so they all started booing. So it's been, I don't know about him. You know, 1 minute I never liked him, but now I'm beginning to turn.
Yeah.
It's because I'm getting old and soft in my... That's what it is.
It's like Andy Murray. I mean, I always remember early on I thought, oh, he's a bit cold and whatever, and he's anything but.
Absolutely.
Anything but. And as soon as you get him with success, as soon as he begins to speak, and the whole family are lovely. The whole family are superb. So you have to concentrate. I do remember when I was a sports reporter that anybody who was any good, you couldn't really talk to them.
I agree with that.
It's a different world. Yeah. And there were people like Rory McIlroy, who's the nicest person in the world, and too accessible, I think. Too accessible, and therefore he doesn't leave himself cold. I remember what Steve Davis watching a match one day, and I went up to him and I said, "Steve, can I have an interview with you afterwards?" Yeah. And he was wearing sunglasses, and he took them off, and he said, "Don't ever disrupt me when I'm watching a game of snooker again. Don't ever speak to me, whatever.
It's just where you didn't stop in the middle of the frame.
Well, yeah, the message I got from that was that they're totally concentrated on what they've got to do, and you've got to be cold, and you've got to be distant, and you can't be sociable. And I think Rory's weakness is he's a nice person.
I think Alcaraz probably falls into that bracket, and I was just reading a lovely piece in the Times today which is describing how accessible and sweet he is, still lives with his parents, and he's played tennis at his dad's tennis academy all his life, but his little face lights up when he's asked what's his mum's favourite meal that she cooks for him, and just very open and very humble.
Well, you don't
I hope
get
that continues.
The cynicism hasn't appeared yet. This is what usually happens later with big sporting stars, because then everybody wants a piece of them, and then they realise they can't trust everybody, and then so it's when they're young. There's three stages I always see, not only with sports people, very famous people. I'm sure you didn't go through this, Eamonn. You've always been nice all along, but you get they're really nice, really friendly,
really grateful.
Then get their first taste of it, and then you see the change, and then after that. Then they become real superstars, and then it goes back again. So it's just human nature, whereas he doesn't seem to have it yet, does he?
Well, you see, you look at Djokovic and how friendly he is with them there, and even when he won it, Djokovic was very welcoming, very good with it. There was no distance. I wouldn't be sportsmen. It's like footballers who hug each other after the game, hug the opposition and whatever. I'm more Roy Keane. I'd just be right off the pitch. I can't stand all that being nice to the opposition business.
I think afterwards, but not before.
Well,
that's when you don't want to see it before.
A week afterwards. Maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe once you've retired, something like that. I tell you, I do want to mention something that happened, because not only, of course, did we have the Euros final. We'll talk about that a little bit later, because we've already spoken about it once, and I can only deal with it just so much at one time, which, of course, we lost. But the Copa America was over in Miami, which is the American version of the Euros.
Big crowd trouble there.
There was, and this was at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Colombia versus Argentina. Have a look at this. This is where people are actually trying to get in.
This is through the air vent system.
Through the air vents, for crying out loud.
Imagine if that all then collapsed onto the people beneath, and also, my goodness, is that drink-induced silliness or just...
No, I don't think it's drink-induced. I think I've got to be there no matter what induced is what it is.
You've got this at Wembley now as well. This is now a thing at Wembley where there is a big final, big event, and people decide they can get into the stadium.
Well, you know what worries me, I mean, I think it was that Euros final against Italy 3 years ago that started all this, because I think it's gone around the world. There was the Netflix documentary, and instead of putting people off and thinking, oh, this is crazy, we won't do it, they're thinking, you know, I haven't got a ticket. There's a way in here. And this was really bad. And they didn't start the game. I mean, Argentina won 1-0, but they didn't start the game until an hour late because of the crushing. And that's where the World Cup is going to be. So something needs to be sorted out because there are some... We've seen it in Paris. There are some dangerous situations with huge crowds trying to get into major sports events.
If you and me were trying to get in, would you climb with me through the air vents?
What I would do is stand on your shoulders and then I go, OK, it's all right, up you come.
We can't go any further. Eamon's got stuck in the air vent.
Can you turn the wind tunnel on? Whoosh, and then you go straight through.
Thank you, Paul. See you again later.
Yeah, can you imagine flying across the pitch at 100 miles an hour? What on earth was that?
Oh dear. Right, still to come. We're going to be looking at the front pages, pretty much all of them focusing on last night's loss to Spain. We've got Biggins and Dawn Neeson for that. See you in a mo.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Fife, the A92 is closed northbound off junction 3 of the M90 from Helbeath to Crossgates after an accident. In Lincolnshire, the A52 is closed in both directions along Bridgend Road at Grantham after an accident that's been ongoing since the early hours of Sunday morning. In Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound in sections from the A29 at the Bear Green roundabout to the M25 at Leatherhead for emergency resurfacing work after a large diesel spill last week. Red Funnel sailings to and from the Isle of Wight are suspended between Southampton and East Cowes because of a technical problem, and trains in Cornwall have been stopped between Liscard and Looe after a train broke down. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained. I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Just complimenting Eamonn on the tone of his suit jacket, saying actually it complements the tone of your skin. That's the sort of thing I noticed, but I think it really lifts you. You look like you've got some sun this weekend.
See the green one I have.
I've seen it, trust me. I'm not sure I feel the same way about that one.
Looks like mould.
Hello, Biggins.
Mouldy old morning. Christopher Biggins, Dawn Neeson here this morning. Look, you know, all the papers just wallowing in this England defeat here. Biggins, did you watch it, or were you interested?
I tell you what happened. I watched the tennis in the afternoon, because I'm a tennis fan, and it was fantastic. It was a great match. I'm so thrilled that Carlos won. I mean, it was great. But, I mean, you know, the age difference, it was quite something. And I think Djokovic is a wonderful player. But, I mean, I was very excited.
Changing of the guard. It's about time.
It's about time. And it was brilliant. So we went to see, we stayed with some friends in the country, watched that, and then we got back and the trains were delayed because, of course, they couldn't get all the staff on the trains because of the football. And so we got back late. But I did immediately come in and found that nobody had scored. And then I went and did a few things, you know, like you do at home. And then I went back and then they'd scored. And then they scored again, and then I thought, this is it, and then they scored again.
This is some analysis, isn't it?
It's so technical there.
But you know, it was exciting. But I didn't watch the end. I watched the end. I did watch the end. But it doesn't interest me as much.
Well, do you know, it really interests Dawn.
It does really interest me. In-depth analysis. I mean, but the thing is, it's the eternal hope and optimism of the England fan, isn't it? And you're always defeated by reality. I mean, we weren't defeated by Spain. We were defeated by reality. You know, all you can say really is the best team in the tournament won. We got there on a wing and a prayer, didn't we? I mean, we beat Slovakia. It's a country of 5.5 million people.
England weren't outclassed, though.
I think we held our own. We just didn't hold it long enough. We weren't outclassed. I think we were OK, but we didn't deserve to win. I mean, we came up against a team that were very good. The best in the tournament. They deserved to win. Fair play. It's what happens now, isn't it? I mean, it's what happens now. Does Southgate stay?
Well, also, I've been reading that he might be set to get an honour. It could be a rise, you know,
So do you make someone... Look, I mean, he has...
To get an honour for losing.
Yeah, that's it, Eamonn.
I mean, King says the team can hold their heads high.
Yeah. I mean, technically, he's been one of the best England managers.
It's funny you bring that up. The World Cup winning team of '66, Dawn, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but, like, nobody was given an honour or whatever it is for years.
No, that's right, they weren't.
You know, people like Jeff Hurst or whatever became a knight, like, 30 years later or whatever.
Absolutely, they really did. And Bobby Moore got nothing.
Got nothing.
Got absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I agree. I don't think you should reward failure. Yes, this England team have been successful. You know, we've got to 2 finals, semi-finals. So on paper, you know, Gareth Southgate is a successful manager. However, I agree with you, Eamonn. I don't think you can reward failure.
Also, the way I think these European teams play, these European managers, I think a lot of the excitement, I don't think football is as good as it used to be.
No, I agree.
And it's all about tactics, and there's nothing about flair in it. And I'm not a fan. I think football in the 70s and the 80s was so much better.
I'm with you, but, you know, look, we're talking from our generation. You've got youngsters and many, many brilliant young players coming through for England now as well.
Technically, yeah.
Well, this is the problem. We've got some fantastic players, and, you know, you saw some fantastic goals, 2 fantastic goals at the very least.
But it's not all about systems.
Yeah, it's how we... Do we need a manager that's a bit more adventurous, is the polite way of putting it?
Well, look, if he leaves England, he'll be looking for a club.
Do not look in my direction.
Man United, Eamonn? No one wants him. This is what everyone's been saying this morning.
Did you all see the play the National Theatre did called Dear England?
Yeah, but apparently it was supposed to be brilliant.
Now, I have really no interest in football.
Awards.
It was fantastic. It was
why would you say it's fantastic, Biggins?
I tell you what, it gave a whole new meaning to football for me. It taught me how he very cleverly wanted to, psychologically, with the penalties, challenged the guys and brought this woman in, a psychologist, to actually help them. And I think it did help
them. I tell you what, they've got that cracked now. They really have. Let's talk about Donald Trump. That was shocking, wasn't it?
Absolutely shocking. I mean, in disbelief over the weekend. One couldn't believe it.
How that bullet was able to graze him and go on and kill someone else behind him.
I know.
But absolutely incredible. It could not have been any closer.
No, and it's one of those sliding doors moments, isn't it, where fate really does... I mean, if he hadn't have turned his head at that very moment, that bullet would have gone into the back of his head rather than just grazing his ears. It's just, I'm going to do this, look that way.
It would have been in front of the whole world. He would have been, you know, killed right there and then It was much like JFK. With the, it would have
not
been
like JFK, totally not.
OK.
The
but
fact,
it would have been the head.
Fact, do you know what gets me? That guy would have shot Trump yesterday with a sight, right? He would have had some sort of sight on that. The JFK gun hadn't even got a sight. It just proves to me there were like 3 other shooters with JFK. Unbelievable. You just couldn't have hit Kennedy and killed him the way they did.
Well, we went out to Dallas earlier this year, and we went to the book depository, and Lee Harvey Oswald, what I didn't know at the time, was a sharpshooter. He had served in the military in America.
I think he was a shooter. I wouldn't call him a sharpshooter.
Evidently, the military historian we were doing a tour with, he said he was actually a very good shot in the military. I mean, mad as a box of frogs, but I mean, he was a very good shot. So technically, there's so many conspiracy theories.
Impossible shot.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's
guy,
so many
Thomas Crooks, 20 years old, no military affiliation.
No
training.
No
training, not connected to any rifle club or anything. 170 metres away. And initially you think, well, how did he miss? But actually we saw, because it was Donald turned to look at the Jumbotron at that exact moment.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
But also, the public was saying to the police that were there, there's someone up there. Now, why didn't they react? Why didn't they do something earlier?
I heard this morning that there was a tree potentially not blocking a clear line of sight, but also that you can see from other footage that the snipers on the roof, if you're looking at Donald Trump on the stage, the sniper to the left of the stage is clearly trained. His sights are clearly trained on the shooter. So they obviously had established that he was there and were aware and had decided not to fire. So
but heads must roll.
100%. I mean, a huge fail.
I mean, this is the president, an ex-president, and the new president of the United States of America. I mean, unbelievably badly assault.
Because we're talking about heads rolling, and they're falling like flies at Strictly. Sorry, no, Don, this is your story.
Well, Biggins is probably more up on Strictly than I am, to be honest with you. She says, opening the paper and reading it. This is the second Strictly professional to leave under a cloud, isn't it? This is Graziano Di Prima, and his training style has been described as abusive, certainly towards one of his previous partners, Zara McDermott. He says, a bit like the other... Who's the other chap that's had to go under a cloud? Can't remember his name.
Paniche. Is it Paniche?
No.
Oh, which one?
Anyway,
him. And he goes, I'm so up on showbiz. But he says that he's passionate about his training. He works really hard. And I can understand that, because if you're passionate and you've got to get someone that can't dance at all, someone like me, to actually even look halfway decent, you're going to be brutal.
Giovanni Paniche is the other guy.
Yes,
That's this video, which I haven't seen, and I did try to have a look this morning, see if I could see it anywhere, and I couldn't find the video.
No,
allegedly, the BBC have been handed a video which led to his sacking of him kicking Zara McDermott.
Who is Zara McDermott?
So she's the girlfriend of Sam, who just won... I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Sam Thompson, Made in Chelsea star. She was on Love Island. So they're a celebrity couple. She didn't get very far. I think she got about 4 weeks or something.
Listen, forget everything. It angers me so much. This is a very difficult show. I mean, it really is. And you attempt it and take your life in your hands, because they are tough. And it's you have to go. If you're not good enough as a dancer, you're out.
Have you done it, Biggins?
No, don't be so silly. I would never do it, because it's a really tough job. And it's relentless.
But you go to any ballet school and you'll see people with sticks, like hitting the ballerinas.
I completely...
But I'm sorry, but I don't think it's acceptable to be kicking Zara McDermott if that allegation proves to be true.
Well, I can't believe that is true. I mean, if you're in a dance routine, his foot might have gone and kicked her that way, but I don't think he would... I find it very odd that he would actually do it purposely.
Well, look, if it's a full-blown kick, it's completely wrong. But if you're sort of like just moving someone's leg just do that and move it and pushing your leg on their leg...
Zara never made a complaint. She didn't raise any concerns to the BBC. It's only subsequently that this video's emerged, and she has cooperated with the investigation.
And they're hyper at the moment, aren't they? With Strictly, they need to make sure it is all very, very squeaky clean. I mean, it's their juggernaut of a show.
Can we talk about the royals? Because obviously we saw Prince George out with his dad in Berlin last night, and we also saw Princess Charlotte with her mum in the royal box at Wimbledon. And I have to say, it's just aside from all of the sport, fabulous to see this family relaxed, happy, and the Princess of Wales, although always very, very thin, looking very well.
And also the reaction, to her was fantastic. I mean, she is loved. And yes,
she's the most popular royal, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think she has every right to be popular because she's a great girl, and she is holding together. I mean, the royal family, I think, are going through a very good time at the moment.
It's just not enough of them.
It's just not enough. Well, I think that's what Charles wants, though.
Well, I think Charlotte and George are quite clearly being groomed
Very
for
much so, yeah.
the limelight. Notice that Louis was nowhere to be seen last night. Poor old Prince Louis was at home with the Haribos.
Yeah, he just got sent to bed early, didn't he?
I think also there's what they're going to do with Princess Anne's daughter is make her a princess, which I think is right, because I think Zara, I think she's terrific.
Does she want to be? She gave up her hereditary title because she wanted an ordinary life.
I think, though, I mean, Anne, who I think is the most brilliant of all the royals, I think she would have talked to her about this, and I think it's a very good idea, because I think she should be brought up and brought in, like the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh doing a very
It's a
good
new
job.
stage in life for her. She's at a different age.
Yes,
She's got
exactly.
her equestrian career behind her or whatever. The timing could be very good.
Yeah, I think it could be
She's
good.
also very popular.
She's a magnificent personality.
Yeah, she really is. And that's what the royal family needs.
I think her and Mike and the kids have too much of a good life, just slightly below that radar. They look like they enjoy themselves, so I think that spotlight...
They would not want the restriction.
Yeah, I think they enjoy, they enjoy a party every now and then.
You might be right.
Okay. Talking about a party, there's talk, this advert on the Metro, Budweiser on the front, Budweiser on the back, to do with England.
Yeah. And the Walker's crisps have done one as well, where there's sort of like a heart-shaped crisp broken with the England flag. Well, what can you say? I mean, proud partner of England says Budweiser, other drinks are available. And I'm sure most people drank enough of them last night, to be honest with you. But it's just like... It all feels a bit like morning after the night before now. I think we just want to move on. I do, personally. Don't you, Eamonn?
Yeah, I really can't stand my newspaper, my headlines, front page of my
the wraparounds.
being obscured by something like that.
Yeah. I don't think it should be allowed.
No, see, so I just want to do...
Yeah.
Get rid of that, and then you've got this ad which blocks off everything.
The thing is, as a former newspaper editor, that drives you mad because your sales go through the floor.
Yeah.
You really, really lose so many sales. However, it's incredibly lucrative.
It's lucrative, but
I was going to say the money you
these people to write your wonderful headlines, and then your headlines don't see the light of day. It's a real shame.
Talking about not seeing the light of day, Biggins, all around the country today, so many people are bleatered. They are in bed with hangovers. They've decided to take today off. And they just give in. I mean, June, July, with this Euro Championship, people they're on permanent holiday.
Well, and they wanted to make it an official holiday, didn't they? But I think people said no. I think Keir Starmer said no. We're not going to do that. But I think it's inevitable, I suppose. People get so caught up in all the things that were happening over the weekend, and they like a drink or two, and they get bladdered. I mean, it's one of those things.
Well, if you're in Scotland or Wales or whatever, I don't think you particularly want a day off to celebrate England.
Well, you might actually want to have to celebrate England losing. I mean, I was talking to some Scottish mates, and it's like we pretend we really, really, really don't like you, but we were actually a bit gutted in the end. But it's like, can you imagine though? Last night, what time did the game finish, or what time did it all wrap up? About 11 o'clock. Imagine declaring a bank holiday at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night for the following day. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But they knew. I mean, people were supermarkets were ringing their people who work there and saying, "Oh, don't bother to come in till 11 or something."
Yeah.
They were making arrangements because they knew what the public were like.
What about our makeup artists today saying that the schools
were doing
have to
that
open till 10 o'clock and all the kids...
But it is the last week of term as well. I mean, kids are not doing much this week.
My 8-year-old did stay up. He went to watch it at a fan zone.
I think kids should. I mean, I was only 18 months old when we won something, Eamonn, back in 1966. So I don't remember it, but evidently I was propped up in front of the telly watching. I know it's an afternoon game, but propped up in front of the telly watching it. So I think if you've got a child and they want to stay up and watch the football and they're interested, they should have been allowed to stay up last night. It could have been momentous. OK, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Eamon's looking at me like, oh, my God.
I think what is interesting, that the tennis has been forgotten in a way, and it was as good a match as the football.
Well, let's talk about it. It's just because we didn't have any England player in it, but obviously it was our wonderful ground. But you're very thrilled to see Alcaraz coming through.
Absolutely. In Spain, of course, you know.
What a day for Spain.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know. But I think that tennis, I think, is just wonderful. I mean, fantastic.
I don't understand.
We had the privilege of going to see the tennis last week, and it is marvellous. I think that the television coverage is brilliant for tennis, and you can't do anything better than watch it on television.
I was lucky enough to see Alcaraz play last year, and he was absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
He went on to win. I didn't see him this year, but he's just fabulous.
No,
and it's nice to see someone challenge Djokovic. It's become a bit boring.
Yeah.
That it's always the same people.
La la.
Yeah.
Come on, I indulge you in football talk for a bit. Give it a go, Dawn.
Yes, it wasn't a very long match, was it? I mean,
it was quite short.
I was thinking of little Charlotte sitting there for that length of time.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but some of those matches do go on for like days, don't they?
The Princess of Wales wore a purple dress.
Beautiful. By who? No.
Not that I see here. But purple clothes are said to boost your confidence and give an aura of authority.
I think she's just matching the purple and green. Last year she wore a green dress. This year she's gone purple.
Well, it's the colours of Wimbledon, isn't it? Purple and green. Also suffragettes.
Is it?
Go girls, yeah.
The colours of Wimbledon?
Yeah, if you get the Wimbledon umbrella, it's green and purple stripes, isn't it?
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
All the wristbands. Have you not got any of the merchandise?
No, don't do that. You have.
I was pouring with rain when I turned up, went straight to buy the brolly.
Did you buy it? Well, obviously, the few times I have been to Wimbledon, darling, I've been sitting in the royal box, as you do when you're a newspaper editor. And one year I took my mum, and it was so cold. They give you blankets in the royal box, you know, the typical Wimbledon blanket.
Hats in the summer, in the sun.
Yeah, and we sort of borrowed the blanket and took it home with us because we were so cold.
Oh, really? Oh.
It's still at home in the cupboard.
But I do feel sorry for Wimbledon. They've had an absolute shocker with the weather. It's been so miserable, and it's just been a nightmare for play. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Obviously fine on centre court and court number 1, but all the outside courts, and there's so many, and you forget how many matches are going on, especially in the first sort of 8 days of the tournament.
I think we're in for a lot more rain, too, coming up, because apparently, I didn't realise this, but it rained on St Swithin's Day this year.
What does that mean?
Well, 40 days, I think, of rain.
Did you know the average person in this country talks about the weather 3 times a day?
Well, we're affected by it, so.
Well, constantly, yeah. It is a British obsession. But I was writing a piece on it over last week, but this summer is actually fairly normal for us. We all look back with rose-tinted glasses, the long, hot summer of 1976. All our childhoods were full of summers of long, hot, sunny days. Realistically, they weren't. They're pretty similar to this one.
But surely you can compare the fortnight of Wimbledon and think, well, it wasn't wet last year.
Wimbledon's always wet and cold. I mean, of course it is.
OK, maybe I've got rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you have done. That's why you're wearing that dress.
You should live in Ireland and then you'll know what...
Yeah, there is that.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris and Dawn, and we'll see you again in 45 minutes.
Great.
Thank you. So let's go and talk about that weather in much more depth. Jonathan Vaughtry's got the picture for the whole country. Hope it's
flooding
good for you.
on the way.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week often gives you the chance to start afresh. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't quite caught the memo. Stuck in the same pattern, I'm afraid. We've got another area of low pressure quickly moving its way into southwestern areas today. This is going to be bringing some very heavy rainfall. Thundery, torrential downpours are possible, and as a result, there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales. Certainly some localised flooding and travel disruption is possible, so take care. Some of that rain just pushing into southeastern areas of England as well, but the northern half of the UK faring better today with some sunny spells and temperatures responding to that 20 to 21 degrees Celsius here, so feeling a bit more pleasant and warm. But as we head towards that evening rush hour period, please do again take care, because that area of heavy rain will be moving its way into Wales, parts of the Midlands as well. Certainly something to watch out for before you head home later on. The sunshine across Northern Ireland, Northern England just turning a bit hazier into the afternoon with a cloud around, but generally a few showers across Scotland to watch for, but many of of us staying dry here, and certainly the Highlands getting off with a decent amount of sunshine still later on in the evening. Just that cloud lingering across the Northern Isles to make it a bit duller and drizzlier here. The area of rain will slowly push its way northwards, but in some ways grind to a halt across parts of North Wales into northern England over towards Yorkshire and the Humber as well. So some further downpours possible here during the overnight period. With all the cloud, though, it is going to be quite a mild night. Generally, temperatures holding around 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. That rain will just still be lingering around first thing on Tuesday, gradually pushing its way off towards the North Sea. And behind that, we will start to see some sunny spells and showers developing. Some of those showers, again, could be quite heavy, with the risk of further thunderstorms in there, particularly across the eastern portions of England and up towards Scotland as well. Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. Wednesday looks like it could be a slightly drier day for many of us, but there is further rain that will be quickly moving in from the west. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Fife, the A92 is closed northbound off junction 3 of the M90 from Helbeath to Crossgates after an accident. In Lincolnshire, the A159 is blocked along Thonnet Road at Blyton after someone drove into the railway bridge. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25. In Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound in sections from the A29 at the Bear Green roundabout to Leatherhead. Emergency resurfacing after a diesel spill. Red funnel sailings to and from the Isle of Wight are suspended between Southampton and East Cowes because of a technical problem, and the Cowes Chain Ferry is suspended for maintenance work, and train services in Cornwall have been stopped between Liscard and Looe, and that's after a train broke down. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Heartbreak for England.
As Spain take home the European Championship.
It's an agonising defeat as Gareth Southgate and his team fall short at the last hurdle.
30 years of hurt became 58. We'll now move on to 60 years of hurt, at least until the World Cup in 2 years' time. There's a nice way of looking at it. Let's be honest, England were beaten by the better side, although Cole Palmer gave us hope in the 73rd minute. Spain won 2-1 and lifted their 4th European Championship.
In other news, Donald Trump speaks out after his attempted assassination with a plea for unity, claiming he was saved by God alone.
as President Biden calls to lower the temperature of political rhetoric during his Oval Office address overnight.
Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here.
And a royal return to Wimbledon. The Princess of Wales makes her second public appearance this year at the men's final yesterday.
A new week, but the weather seems stuck in the same pattern, with heavy rain and thundery downpours on the cards for some of us. Join me later for the details.
1 minute past 7 o'clock. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, the mood pretty sombre. Football is not coming home. An agonising game for England, beaten 2-1 in the European Championship final last night.
58 years of hurt continues. Paul Coit to bring us up to speed with all of that. And I suppose on the night, Spain were the better team.
They were the better team. Football's not coming home. In fact, I don't think football knows where home is. It's been so long since we won it. So Spain were the better team. They've been the better team throughout the entire Euros. They've won every single game, all 7 of them. They've played good football. It was just too much for England. And we kind of hoped, I think every England fan hoped, that maybe we would play like we did in that win one half against the Netherlands, push forward, use the players that we've got. We've got so much talent there, but it just didn't happen. And it was just seemed too defensive. Finally, we got going once they'd scored. And then once we got that amazing goal from Cole Palmer, then we didn't push on like we'd hoped. And I don't think anybody can have any argument that Spain were the best side. And we've lost again. So there we are. It's funny, I speak to people that have never been in this situation and really distraught, and I've seen this film so many times over the years. It's just one of those things you kind of get used to.
You're saying you're numb to it.
I am a little... honestly, I hate to say it, but I am a little numb to it. I think most of us are.
You didn't really have the belief then, did you?
Oh, now that's just pushing me into the corner, Isabel. I don't want to talk about that.
No, but if you really believe it, but maybe the team didn't. Maybe the team didn't.
I don't know.
Really
I think the belief is always there, and any sports fan, if you're a fan of anybody, the belief is always. But again, that phrase, it's the hope that kills you. That's
100%.
always it. But you're always going to believe. Next one comes around, we'll still believe again. But whether it's going to be the same manager, that is a different question altogether.
Let's see what Jack Carson is believing in today. Just sum it up for us today, Jack, in Berlin.
Well, I mean, you know, Paul talked about it there, how a lot of the criticism, you know, throughout this tournament, and I think again in that final, is looking to the individual rather than maybe looking to the team. And you know, players throughout this tournament had helped us escape from being knocked out so early on. You know, whether it was Jude Bellingham with that overhead kick, whether it was Bukayo Saka equalising against Switzerland, it was individual players dragging through this tournament. Spain just looked more of the team. You know, we had about 35% possession across the whole game. You can't have that in a final and come out victors. Very rarely does that happen. Spain were on top of us. You know, Gareth Southgate had changed, you know, formation late on into the tournament, and it seemed to have worked. You had that bright spark, you know, against the Netherlands that maybe it looked like our fortunes had turned. But Southgate saying after the game that when you get into these tournaments and you get into that final, you have to take that chance, and England couldn't yesterday.
OK, let's find out more about that. Paul, we've got Mark Lawrenson now, who's joining us with his take on things, former Liverpool defender and broadcaster. Laura, I was just saying, second half began, the left wing was opened up by Spain, and it continued to stay that way. I didn't see anybody blocking anybody coming down the left wing with them, and it led to 2 goals.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, the right back, England's right back, went across to cover, didn't he, in the end, but it wasn't quick enough or good enough. Look, you know, I've obviously been listening to you all talk about it as well. Is you can't, if you only get 35% of possession on the ball against a good side, you've got to make it count. And as everybody, I think, will agree, even the most one-eyed England supporter, is that Spain were better in every position. And Paul said there as well, they've won every single game in the competition. I don't know if that's ever been done before, but I think the thing with England, it was just same old, same old. It'll now be like, what happens to Gareth? We'll have that for the next couple of weeks. I think that's his decision alone to make, whether he wants to stay on or not. He's earned the right to do so. But it's, as you say, it's same old, same old.
Well, what do you think, Mark? We say he's earned the right to do so. Yes, he's done better than most England managers in the past. But with the players that we now have, should England be winning something? I know there's no divine right, but I know you've got Jurgen Klopp probably down the road from where you are right now. Maybe you could go and knock on his door and see if he's available.
Well, I'd have to climb over the gates, to be fair.
OK, I'll give you a ladder. Do whatever it needs to be done.
Thank you very much. Look, now I think the thing is that we always say this. We got every tournament that England go into, all of a sudden everyone is saying, "Oh well, you know, it's going to be difficult," and then you get a couple of victories, and as a nation, it's like, "Oh, we're definitely going to win. It's coming home." How many times have we heard that? About 17 billion, right? So it's the other problem as well is I thought England looked quite leggy last night. And Kane's not really played particularly well. I mean, he's been heavily marked, etc. And if your striker doesn't play particularly well and doesn't get much of the ball, you're never going to beat these teams. And yes, they've got some outstanding players, but if you look at some of the teams that have won major competitions, they're not all outstanding players. They have players who work extremely hard and obviously, you know, and play with the players who themselves are top players. But same old, isn't it? We'll be back here in 2 years' time and we'll have the same conversation.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, I know you're saying it's up to Gareth Southgate whether he stays and you know, I totally respect that, but what about this talk of perhaps him getting an honour? There's some discussion, sort of raise of eyebrows when, you know, he hasn't actually won anything. And you think of the 1966 World Cup winners, lots of those took many, many years to get any honours, some never did. So what's your view on that? Should we be saying, arise, Sir Gareth?
No, we should be saying thanks very much indeed. You decide what you don't want to do, but a visit to the palace I wouldn't think is on the agenda.
Well, you know what? That was, I think, planned, you know, this morning. So I think the King's probably got some free time. Well, the thing is, I think they do it every year, Mark, just in case. So there's going to be a party and they expect, you know, if there's going to be a bus parade and everything, you have to be prepared for this. But maybe one year, if we don't do it, maybe we're just tempting fate every time. Finally, going forward then with England, what will happen then? How long do you think it will be until we'll hear something from Gareth Southgate? Because the dust is obviously going to settle for a while. I think he will go. What do you think?
I think he'll go. He's an intelligent guy, and I think he'll look at it and think, look. And if you remember in the stage of the early stages, he was getting loads of stick from everyone, wasn't he? And they were throwing beer at him and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't need that. He's done an extremely good job. Unfortunately, he just fell at the final hurdle. I think he'll fall on his sword in the next couple of weeks, I would have thought. Because the other thing as well is people will be asking every single day, this is going to be so boring, which is what are you going to do, Gareth? And I think he'll just turn around and say, look, thank you, but no, thank you very much indeed.
He'll take a job. He'll go to a club. He's bound to. He's in demand.
But Eamonn, where will he go?
Well, I've heard.
Yes. Where could that be? I wonder.
There was a deal. There was a deal lined up for him, and I'm glad it didn't come off because, you know, he didn't do anything at Middlesbrough. Why would he do it in the Premier League?
Well, yeah, that's a fair assumption. Are you talking about he was going to Manchester United, or he had a chance?
Did you hear that too?
No, I tend not to listen to all that rubbish. But so you obviously are really delighted that he's not going to Manchester United, which is good. Happy days.
I'd be delighted as well.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, his tactics, he was too cautious. You know, and you would just like the team to play with some sort of belief because, as Paul was saying, the talent was there, the ability was there. Let them off the leash.
Yeah, easier said than done, though, isn't it? I'm afraid. So, but then you chuck it back at me and say, well, Spain managed to do it. Well, absolutely, totally they did. And I think, you know, they're one of the best teams I've seen in a long time. Yeah. When you look at those two young kids as well, and they are kids, I mean, they've done brilliantly. And the manager who's had most of those kids as a youngster, as youngsters, he's pulled them through. So just shows you the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, Laura, got to leave it there. Thanks for taking the time speaking to us, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Eamonn, I had to wet the bed to get up this morning.
OK.
Whatever you say, my friend, whatever you say.
I want to know what's behind the fence there. What's behind that hedge there? I'm just trying to see over the top.
Right, let's change the subject, shall we?
Sir Mark Lawrenson, by the way, good to see you. I mean, if anybody's going to have it on. There you go.
Fair. To the US now. Donald Trump has spoken out after yesterday's attempted assassination on his life.
He wrote on his social media platform, he vowed evil will not prevail. He called for unity. He claimed God alone saved his life.
Well, President Biden has echoed similar calls for unity in an Oval Office address overnight, calling for the political temperature to be lowered.
Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, or God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace.
President Biden actually speaking very eloquently, I thought, Roger, when he was over the weekend. This is US political analyst Dr. Roger Gaywolb, who joins us now with this. The Trump situation, how a bullet can come so close, and he got away with just raising his ear.
Turned his head.
Yeah.
God.
Incredible.
You credit God. You think this is a divine act. I mean, honestly, it was that close, wasn't it? He moved his head. He shouldn't be alive.
Well, it was either luck, nobody, nothing, his Aunt Martha. Of course it was God. I mean, you know, it's what I say.
He's a friend of yours. You've been friends for many years.
I know him, yeah.
This makes this, I suppose, personal as well as historical moment for you.
I mean, I know him. I've been with him however many times, at meals, at things. I've always, he loves his crowd. He loves the people. I have looked and said, gee, you know, I mean, anybody could get to him. I mean, if you get close, there are Secret Service people all around who, if they know you, of course, then you can talk to him. But I think he needs to be behind perspex like the Pope at this point, because
I think I was thinking that yesterday. Actually, I mean, I've worked with the Secret Service and seen it up close and seen to the extent. For instance, when President Clinton came to Belfast, I was very much involved in watching what they did and how they scarred the whole city, and went down drains and did all sorts of things. He will not appear anywhere again unless he is behind glass.
I certainly hope so. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but I WhatsApped Nigel Farage this morning. I said, you should beef up your security. I mean, there's just some...
Well, he's flying out to this GOP convention, which is due to start in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And President Trump has come out fighting, characteristically. Apparently, we've heard this morning he's been on the golf course, he's been to watch UFC fighting, and now he's going to appear at this convention.
And he's doing a huge rally, which is being televised by all the big stations at Doral in Florida tonight. I mean...
Does this win him the presidency?
Yeah, I think so. I mean... over a gentleman whose compos mentis is in question more and more every day, although he does have his, very good moments. America wants a hero, and that's what he did yesterday. He showed that he's a hero.
Speaking of heroes, I feel we ought to pay tribute to Corey Comparatori, who did actually die. Innocent bystander there with his wife and children, and 2 people are actually critically injured.
They've raised $2 million for them already, all of them.
But they're in hospital fighting for their lives as we speak. So potentially 3 people caught up in this in a terrible way. And Trump walking away, the ultimate survivor. And that iconic image, that's going to be the one. I mean, it's already been printed on the back of hoodies and on, we've had the convicted felon pictures, which boosted his ratings. Now we've got this blood-stained sort of, this the survivor message, isn't it?
It's the stars and stripes in the background. It was like a Sands of Iwo Jima picture.
It's so good, you even have nutters out there saying he staged it to get the sympathy vote.
On a serious note, where does America go from this? All of the sort of senior politicians coming out saying all the right things. We need to dial down the rhetoric. We need to calm this down.
Blah,
is that
blah.
going to happen?
Blah, blah. No, of course not. I mean, this is America. I've been on so many programs with so many British hosts present, and I'm a Brit as well as American, present company excluded, I must say.
Thank you.
Where they've argued with me, and I've said, you're looking at this through British eyes. We're a tea party here. This is America. This is the Wild West where you might as well shoot a cowpoke just as soon as argue with him. I mean, that's life over there. This is what happens. This is what, you know, people are fairly used to. And I don't think it's going to change the complexion of America or anything. I think it makes Donald Trump look like a hero. Pardon me. I think that I feel the same way I felt as a youth, not quite understanding everything, but when Kennedy was assassinated. I mean, America went into a depression limbo from November until probably February or March. And thank God this didn't happen yesterday.
Yeah.
Because it would have been worse today. The world we live in today is a lot more emotionally charged and polarized than it was back then, and Kennedy wasn't a particularly divisive figure. So I'm so glad that it didn't happen, thank God. But still, I think there are memories of that. You know, there are ingrained memories in a lot of people. And even those people too young to remember that, I think it's such a shock that such a thing could happen. Now, also, if I may, you've got the Twitter sphere and the social media is filled with the most incredible stuff. And it's hard to know which is true. There are pictures of some major American newspapers which simply said gunshots heard at presidential rally. Now, that's all they said about an assassination attempt. You've got memes going around. You have a meme of President Biden with a high-powered rifle saying, "I just shot President Putin." You've got a meme of Nancy Pelosi on the phone saying, "What do you mean he missed?" You've got all this evil stuff going around. And then you have videos of people screaming. You've probably seen that one with the shooter on the roof. Apparently, allegedly yelling at the police and the Secret Service for ages.
Telling them that he was there.
That he's there. And then you also have something I just saw, which is Jonathan Wills, it says. I don't know if this is made up. The sniper who had him in his sights for 3 minutes, but was not told by the Secret Service.
I've seen that footage just
now. I don't know whether this is true or this is internet garbage, but there's too much here to overlook. This is not Kennedy.
But people talk about gun bans and that sort of thing. Nothing's going to change.
No, gun ban. He could have used a knife. It could have been a bomb. It could have been, you know.
Well, there were explosives found in his car and in his home as well.
So the right to bear arms is enshrined in the American Constitution precisely for reasons like this. If you have a government that, as some claim, has overstepped the mark, you want to be able to remember it's a federal. There's 50 states. They want to be able to defend themselves. So I don't think they'll get rid of guns. That's not the answer.
Roger, thanks very much indeed for raising a few questions there. And if you've got a comment to make, if there's something you want to say on this, please do get in touch the usual way with us. There it is on screen. Have your say. Roger, see you again later.
Thank you
very much indeed.
We're going to take a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom and some breaking news in the last half an hour. A 34-year-old man, Jostin Andres Mosquera, has been charged with 2 counts of murder after human remains were found in suitcases in Bristol and a London flat. He remains in custody and will appear in court in Wimbledon later today. The 2 victims have been identified, both known to Mosquera. They are 71-year-old Paul Longworth and 62-year-old Albert Alfonso, who were previously in a relationship.
The Foreign Secretary David Lammy has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza during his first trip to the region. And Mr Lammy held talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu before announcing the UK will provide an additional £5 million worth of funding to Gaza.
And the American actress Shannon Doherty has died at just the age of 53 after battling breast cancer. Doherty became a household name when she joined the cast of Little House on the Prairie at just 11 years old, before going on to star in Beverly Hills 90210 and Heathers.
The weather picture, again, a mixed bag, probably a bit better this weekend than it's been for a while. Jonathan Vautry will put you in the picture for this Monday morning.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week often gives you the chance to start afresh. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't quite caught the memo. Stuck in the same pattern, I'm afraid. We've got another area of low pressure quickly moving its way into southwestern areas today. This is going to be bringing some very heavy rainfall. Thundery, torrential downpours are possible, and as a result, there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales. Certainly some localised flooding and travel disruption is possible, so take care. Some of that rain just pushing into southeastern areas of England as well, but the northern half of the UK faring better today with some sunny spells and temperatures responding to that 20 to 21 degrees Celsius here, so feeling a bit more pleasant and warm. But as we head towards that evening rush hour period, please do again take care, because that area of heavy rain will be moving its way into Wales, parts of the Midlands as well. Certainly something to watch out for before you head home later on. The sunshine across Northern Ireland, Northern England just turning a bit hazier into the afternoon with a cloud around, but generally a few showers across Scotland to watch for, but many of us staying dry here, and certainly the Highlands getting off with a decent amount of sunshine still later on in the evening. Just that cloud lingering across the Northern Isles to make it a bit duller and drizzlier here. The area of rain will slowly push its way northwards, but in some ways grind to a halt across parts of North Wales into northern England over towards Yorkshire and the Humber as well. So some further downpours possible here during the overnight period. With all the cloud, though, it is going to be quite a mild night. Generally, temperatures holding around 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. That rain will just still be lingering around first thing on Tuesday, gradually pushing its way off towards the North Sea. And behind that, we will start to see some sunny spells and showers developing. Some of those showers, again, could be quite heavy, with the risk of further thunderstorms in there, particularly across the eastern portions of England and up towards Scotland as well. Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. Wednesday looks like it could be a slightly drier day for many of us, but there is further rain that will be quickly moving in from the west. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
And with the time at 22 minutes past 7, time now to grab your chance to win a whole £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway.
Yeah, it's tax-free. It's our biggest cash prize of the year. Here's how it could be yours.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. We're looking forward to welcoming the royal biographer Angela Levin next, talking about the Princess of Wales' return to Wimbledon and a royal tour which has been planned. That's coming next.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
We'll be there.
This is GB News.
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Princess of Wales centre stage yesterday at Wimbledon, where she presented the men's final winner, Carlos Alcaraz, with his trophy.
And it's been a busy few days for the royals as Prince William and Prince George returned from the Euros final in Berlin just as the King and Queen set off on their tour of the Channel Islands.
Well, a woman with her finger on the pulse, royal biographer Angela Levin. It's all happening, and it's all very, very busy. Princess of Wales, first of all, at Wimbledon.
I was thrilled to see her, that she made it. And I was even happier that her sister was there to be with her, because they're extremely close, and they both love tennis, and her incredible daughter. And she's absolutely wonderful. And the way she looked up at her mother several times in adoration and so happy about it, that it's very, very moving, I think. However, I did think she was so skinny.
A few people have said that to me, and I would say she always looks terribly thin, and, you know, that's sort of normal, isn't it? But you both sort of share concern that she looks thinner than normal, and, you know, maybe no surprise, she's just gone through pretty major upheaval in terms of her health.
Yes. Well, I hope so. I just think that the fact that we haven't seen her for quite long gaps means that it's still very difficult for her. We see King Charles all the time now, and he's still having treatment. And I just pray that she will go through it. I think she's still got quite a long way to go.
Fabulous to see her, because I was concerned that it could go to 5 sets, and that's quite a long time for her to be
I was very worried about her.
Yeah.
I thought, please, because the first 2 rounds were very long, and I thought, no, she can't be here for 4 hours. It's absolutely too much. I got in a real state thinking, you know, goodness, please don't. I thought she couldn't manage to do that, and I was worried when she was downstairs to give the enormous present, and I thought that could she stand up so long? You know, I think you do worry on her behalf. But there in the football, what was absolutely wonderful was to see William with George, and George seemed to sort of. They wore both navy suits and the same ties.
They were both in their mini-me's, weren't they?
Yes, they're mini-me's, and they did the same thing, hold their hands to their face, and cheer. And I thought, you know, if the late Queen had been here, she would not have been pleased, because there was a lot of emotion showed there, and she didn't like it. She didn't.
Is that right?
stiff upper lip. No, she would never. You'd never see her hugging the children. But this is a new generation, and they hugged each other for all they were worth. And I thought this is wonderful for William. He's had a hard time, and he's got a son who's just like him, and it's wonderful.
Fan, you can tell.
Oh yes, yeah. That's probably why I took him. I mean, he absolutely loved it. He was thrilled to bits, and he was, absolutely riveted to it. So it was lovely to see, and I thought, we're lucky to have the royal family, and it's lovely.
So,
we're also lucky.
The King and Queen.
Yes.
The Channel Islands.
Yes, today and tomorrow.
And much further afield later in the year.
But Camilla is 77 on Wednesday, which is...
Congratulations to her.
Yes, it's amazing.
The King's speech, isn't it?
Yes.
Of Parliament on that day.
Yes, at the Parliament of that day. And it is believed that she's going to wear the crown that the Queen wore, which is absolutely full of diamonds. She couldn't care at all about those sort of things. She told me, I wrote her biography. And she's also doesn't care that she's getting wrinkly. And I think she's wonderful for women, because she wanted to be that if you're over 50, you don't have to close the door and sit by the fire and knit. You can change your lives. Obviously, not everyone's going to marry a king, but you can change your lives, you can do things, and you can be very active again. And I think that's wonderful. But what's funny, I think, about going to Jersey and Guernsey, I'll do Jersey first. The King's giving the colour to the Sea Cadets, which is very nice. They're then having a party for a whole range of people. Here again, this is them attracting everyone. They just don't want top people or snobs. They're picking people from all levels on the island, and they're having a massive tea together. And I think that's what they like, going around talking to everyone. Certainly Camilla, and I think Charles has loved it as well, that you don't just talk people who are going to have a knighthood or anything like that. And then they're going to see beekeepers, and of course Charles is very keen on beekeepers. He keeps bees, he has honey for himself. He loves that. And a salute, various gun salutes. It's the first time the monarchy have been there since 205, so it's good that they're there. But the funny thing is, Guernsey, the King is going to, I don't know if he's going to do it with a sword or not, he's calling the golden goats, who are very rare, the royal golden goats. He's giving that a title because there's so few.
Goose or goats?
Goats.
Right,
goats. Sorry, did I?
I wasn't sure which one.
My teeth. Goats.
Royal golden goats.
Yes, instead of golden goats. They're very rare, and they're very sort of yellowy, and their milk is a sort of yellowy cream.
Right.
I think I'll keep away from that, but it sounds lovely. But the other thing is that they're going to get duck eggs. For the last 800 years, the Queens and the Royals have had two dead ducks given to them. And now we're not like that with dead ducks. So they've got duck eggs, and that'll be a much better way of thanking them.
Angela, got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for serving us up duck eggs and all that news there this morning. We'll take a break. Coming up, the Euros are in the rear-view mirror. We'll be looking ahead to the Olympics with a special guest right after this.
12 days to go.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Fife, the A92 is closed northbound off junction 3 of the M90 from Helbeath to Crossgates after an accident. In Lincolnshire, the A52 is closed in both directions along Bridgend Road at Grantham after an accident that's been ongoing since the early hours of Sunday morning. In Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound in sections from the A29 at the Bear Green roundabout to the M25 at Leatherhead for emergency resurfacing work after a large diesel spill last week. Red funnel sailings to and from the Isle of Wight are suspended between Southampton and East Cowes because of a technical problem, and trains in Cornwall have been stopped between Liskeard and Looe after a train broke down. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said stump.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel. Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good morning, Paul. He's got the sport this morning.
A couple of things I want to mention.
Yes.
Because, firstly, obviously, England lost yesterday. That's one thing. Alcaraz won at Wimbledon. Robert McIntyre won the Scottish Open in the golf yesterday. And Ron, who is a huge Speedway fan, sent me this message. He sent me this last year as well and said, can you please mention the Speedway? The GB Speedway team became the world champions over the weekend.
Did they?
So I think I just want to mention that.
I think that's a good one.
So well done to them. Now, the Olympics, you know how close that is now?
12 days?
12 days to go. 12 days to go. The man who is in charge of all of Team GB, the chef de mission, his name is Mark England, and he's with us now. Morning, Mark.
Pleasure to be here.
Listen, it's really good to see you. Firstly, is there more pressure on Team GB after what happened yesterday? You're going to go out and get more gold medals to make us happier?
Well, you know, I think it would have been just fantastic just to ride on the back of the euphoria of an England victory last night. But it wasn't to be, but we're in great shape here. I'm in the city of Reims this morning. This is where our boxers and our gymnasts actually arrive later on this afternoon to start their pre-games training. We've got another site over in the west of Paris in Saint-Germain, where Paris Saint-Germain play. That's where our archery team will be arriving later on today as well. And, you know, it's really exciting now. We're in great shape, and everything that we're doing now is really about optimising the performance for the team.
But, Mark, as the chef de mission, what do you do? What does that actually mean?
It's a fancy title, isn't it? Well, I'm the head of the delegation, so an Olympic campaign is over probably a 6-year cycle, and we've been building some momentum here, which is building our performance-related projects, which are dealing with a number of cities here. As you can see, I'm also the lead communicator for the team. It's my responsibility to drive the performance of the team, to actually select the athletes on the team. We're going to have 327 athletes from 24 sports. It's a really special opportunity, a real special moment for many, many athletes' lives to become an Olympian. Over the past month, I've spoken individually to maybe 90%, 95%. Some great visuals there of the torch that will be arriving actually in one of our preparation camps only next week. So, you know, it's just a great opportunity now, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment. And to become an Olympian, you know, Eamonn, to become an Olympian is a really special thing. It's the pinnacle of Olympic sport. It's the pinnacle of competitive sport in most sports. Not speedway. Congratulations to the speedway team. But it's a really special time for these very, very talented athletes to come together and really create something special for everybody back home.
Obviously, these athletes have been training incredibly hard and are very, very focused individuals. But am I right in thinking that sometimes part of your role will be to try and keep extracurricular activities, shall we say, to a minimum? Because I believe that can be a bit of a problem at the Olympics. Got all these fit young people coming together into the city
Isabel,
of love.
please.
I'm just saying,
it's a bit mission here.
It's a big problem, is it not? You have to keep them focused on the job in hand.
Well,
instead of the job out of hand, obviously.
Well, we're very fortunate in that, we do have a performance-first philosophy. We've got a great group of young athletes who obviously will enjoy themselves when their competition is over. But until that moment, they're fully focused on delivering on the field of play. And I'm sure that I'm pretty confident, having done this a number of times, and know many of the athletes personally and very well, that they'll be in great shape right up until the moment that they peak for performance, as they say.
Now, this is your third Olympics. I know Rio and then Tokyo. Obviously, that was a really different Olympics for you, Mark, and everybody else with COVID. So what about Paris then? This sounds like it's going to be a terrific Olympics and hopefully more medals than ever before. And does that drive the team? The amount, is that an important thing for everybody?
Well, it's a good question because, we're slated to win between 50 and 70. It's Keely on the screen there. Keely Hoskinson with her last week. It's just a fantastic opportunity to become an Olympic champion. We don't put pressure. Molly Caudry there, world's #1 at the pole vault at the moment. We've got this great talent of athletes that are coming together. We've got 50 to 70 medal target. We're pretty confident that we're going to be right in the heart of that. Again, just once more, top 5 in the medal table and top European nation. There's just some terrific athletes that your viewers can see there. Matt Hudson-Smith in the 400 metres. Just a great opportunity for these people to showcase some superb talent.
And finally, do you get to go to enjoy most of the Olympics? Because I guess this is incredibly busy for you, but you do want to see as much as you can and I guess even cheerlead for them as well.
Well, I'm incredibly fortunate. Not only do I see these brilliantly talented people train at very, very close quarters, but I have the opportunity to pick and choose some of the events that I'd like to see. You saw Josh Kerr there. The 1,500 metres is just going to be fantastic on the track. Our swim team is superb. Our gymnasts are brilliant. Our equestrian team is great. 24 sports, there really is something for everybody. Fantastic to have Andy Murray back in the team, Helen Glover, 3-time Olympic champion, back in the rowing team, mum of 3, just a superb story there. Tom Daly coming back as a 5-time Olympian and Olympic champion as well. So I'll pick and choose, and if I have time, I'll make the opportunity to go. So I'm very, very fortunate.
It's early days, but if you do for the next Olympics need a sous chef division,
a sous chef.
I'm going to be the guy for you. Best of luck, Mark. Have a great Olympics. Thanks a lot for your time.
Have a really good Olympics. Let us know all about it. Okay, cheers. Thank you very much, Mark.
Have we worked out what your Olympic sport would be?
No, we haven't worked that, Mark. Me and Eamonn were saying, is there, looking forward 4 years, I do it every year, what would be, I think 400-metre hurdles is out for us, but is there something that maybe we could train for that you could start 4 years in and maybe get in? What's your thoughts?
We've got a 50-year-old skateboarder. How fantastic is that? And surfing.
A 40-year-old one as well, 50-year-old one. Yeah, so I think maybe that's... So skateboarding?
Skateboarding.
Skateboarding and surfing's around the corner, so I know how much you like the water, Eamonn.
Okay, let's skate out of here. Thanks very much, Mark.
I don't think he's taken it seriously.
Christopher Biggins, Dawn Neeson, back with the papers right after this.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
No one wants their child to be a fussy eater. But what is the secret to expanding your child's culinary horizons?
Is there a way to get kids away from the kids' menu, the fish fingers, the chips? Joining us now is the UK's top-selling author of children's cookery books, Annabel Carmel. Good morning, Annabel.
Thank you. So lovely to be here.
So, first of all, what's the issue with kids just having the traditional easy meals like fish fingers, you know, chips, beans?
It really depends if they've got preservatives in them, if they're full of salt. So I like to make them myself, and it's really easy. So I make my own chicken glazed nuggets, and super easy to make using proper pieces of chicken. You can cook them in the air fryer now, which is absolutely brilliant, so you need to fry them. And I think that it's really important that children grow up loving good food, because they make their minds up by the age of 5 what they like and what they don't like. It's quite difficult to change their minds after that. But it's good to know that fussy eating is genetic. It's not to do with your cooking.
Oh,
that's not to say that you can't do something about it. So I've written many, many books, and I have an app with 1,000 recipes on it, and a lot of how to make your own junk food, how to make your own isolitas out of fresh fruit.
Yes.
How to make your own pizzas. I make the most amazing homemade pizza. I actually brought you some cookies here.
So these are your books here. So my first cookbook, that's for how old children?
That's from the age of 1.
OK, and you've got a weaning one at the end, the baby one?
Yes, that's my very first book. I lost my first child. It was really sad. She died at the age of 3 months. And my second child was the world's worst eater. And I wrote that book as my legacy to Natasha, never thinking that it would start a whole career.
Oh, bless you.
It sold millions of copies, and it's still popular.
Is it quite pivotal and important that you introduce kids to the weaning stage, or, you know, how important
It's very important, because the processed weaning food in pouches or jars, it's heated, so a lot of the vitamins aren't there anymore, so making your own is so easy and much cheaper.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Christopher Biggins, Don Neesim here. Are the two of you invited to the Ambani wedding? This is the big Indian wedding that, who was there? Tony Blair, Boris Johnson were amongst those
Nick
there.
Jonas, Kim and Khloe Kardashian and Priyanka Chopra.
Yeah.
Funny enough, my invitation was lost in the post somehow. But you know what? I mean, the pictures are amazing, aren't they? And I just keep looking at the pictures of the Kardashians there. Have you seen how they're dressed, Isabel?
No,
I know you do a bit of fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Looking gorgeous.
Is that not cultural appropriation?
Yeah, well, who goes to a wedding with their boobs hanging out like that? I mean, it's terribly inappropriate.
And they also, interestingly enough, I think probably all of them, all the guests were paid.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think... Would Bill Gates need to be paid, or Mark Zuckerberg?
But I think they would from the... Yes, I mean, and also the amount of private jets that flew them over there.
Yeah.
And as a friend of mine says, they were handbag jobs, you know, where you get paid cash.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, they are the world's richest couple almost, aren't they? I mean, you know, he is £563 million this wedding cost. He is the son of India's richest man, and she's a pharmaceutical heiress. 5,000 people at this wedding, the wealthiest people from around the world.
And it was over 4 days.
Yeah. Well, it's been going on all year, it feels like, and every single 5-star hotel in Mumbai was booked for all these people. And it's the world's priciest hotels, £94 million cruise in the Med, £100 million worth of wedding presents, 5,000 guests. I mean, it's just obscene. When you think of the poverty in India...
I was just going to say... Sorry,
I could just be controversial here. I don't like weddings.
Right.
I dread when I get invited to a wedding. It's it just goes on forever, and I just don't think people do the running order right on them either.
Well, just turn up, say I do, and go.
No, like having speeches after dinner and things. Speeches should be before dinner. You know, there's certain things like that I would do. Are you a wedding fan?
Well, when you get to my age, you tend not to go to too many weddings. You go to divorce parties instead. So I like a good wedding, I must admit. Some of them go on. I mean, my friend got married in a Greek Orthodox wedding, and that went on for days. It was lovely, really, really lovely, but it did go on for a long time.
I liked your wedding, Eamonn.
Yeah, I know.
It was fantastic. Everyone got drunk. And there was so many scenes of wonderful actors and actresses who had too many and staggering on the lawns. I mean, it was hysterically funny. It was a really good time. It was marvellous.
But I think the thing with weddings, people do... I mean, this is a ridiculous example. People spend too much money on them. People say, I can't afford to get married these days. It doesn't cost that much to get married.
There's the old adage, the more you spend on the wedding, the shorter the marriage.
But this wedding is disgusting because what you said earlier, the people that are dying in India and the poverty is huge.
It just feels wrong, doesn't it?
It is wrong.
Without being too woke about it, it's just really, frankly, an obscene display of wealth.
Now, here's a story, and actually I'm glad you chose this because I saw this earlier. Kylie Minogue, who's a lovely, lovely woman, had to be carried on stage. Why, Biggins?
The heels.
The heels.
The heels. I mean, they were like... I mean, she probably had to get a ladder to get into them.
I mean... So she was performing at the British Standard Time Hyde Park.
British Summer Time.
Yes.
Summer Time, sorry.
Yeah. But she was carried on by Andrew Scott and Jonathan Bailey. Who happened to... They must have been employed to do that, I would think.
Yeah, and the idea was that she was rocking on these heels, was she? Or they were
yes, I
that...
think she was unsteady. It was like, you know, she was about to be launched somewhere.
Are you a big Kylie fan, Biggins?
I love Kylie. I think she's great.
I find she's still a bit bland.
What to interview or as a person, but I love her music. I've interviewed her and she just looked a bit sort of haunted all the time.
Yeah, I think she's so girl next door. I mean, I've interviewed her as well, and I had to go to a premiere with her, and I'm quite a big bird, obviously. And Kylie is so petite, and standing next to her...
I took my high heels off for a photograph, and she had her skyscrapers, and I was still taller than her.
But I was a fan of hers from Neighbours, too. I mean, I loved her in Neighbours.
I interviewed her while she was in Neighbours, going back to 1986 or so.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was in the BBC recently, and she came running across in the BBC, shouting, Eamonn, Eamonn, and I looked round and I thought, that's Kylie Minogue. She said, Eamonn, when I interviewed her, I didn't meet her, I did her down the line. She was in Australia and said, I've always wanted to meet you. Kylie Minogue wanted to meet me. So there you go. I'd have carried her on stage. It's not much awful. Yeah.
She's a sweetheart, but I have to say I read some pretty average reviews for her show last night.
Yes, that's why I said it's panned. Bland was the word. I mean, you know, she turned up, she's very professional, but Stevie Nicks on Friday night was meant to be absolutely brilliant. She also performed at British Summertime.
I went to Henley last week, the festival, and we saw Eurythmics.
Yeah?
Oh, and
but she wasn't there.
Oh.
Huh?
Just him, and he had about 6 girls singing the parts. It was very odd.
52 million beers were downed in pubs yesterday. Does that surprise you, Biggins?
No, and I think it's great because, of course, the pubs have been really suffering.
They need the business.
They really need the business. I mean, on the high street now, so many pubs have gone. Which I find interesting because, you know, I think they're great social meeting places, and it's very sad. But I think a huge amount of money was, where are we now? £48 million was boosted by the hospitality.
And it needs it. I mean, I interviewed a publican over the weekend about what they were doing in the pub, and he said that the industry is on its knees. We've got so many pubs closing every day.
Yeah. Talking about being boosted, Dawn, a record number of men have been prescribed what on the NHS?
Right, OK, this is, well, Viagra, to be honest with you. Let's not beat about the bush here. Yeah, it's the prescriptions, NHS prescriptions for Viagra have gone through the roof. Doctors dishing out more than 4.5 million of them this year, which is the highest we've ever had. The reasoning behind it is that it's cheaper. And this is being prescribed on the NHS rather than people buying it privately as well, because you can buy it, I think, almost in supermarkets these days. But the reasoning is the drug itself is off licence now, so it's cheaper to access for the NHS. And plus, we're more open in talking about our sex lives. Evidently.
But should we be entitled to that on the NHS, or is that something you should deal with yourself?
Be careful.
Yeah, I do think that's a legitimate question. We often talk on this programme, people shouldn't have boob surgery or whatever. If they've got extra large boobs and they need them reduced, that's their problem. If they've got problems with, you know...
I was fascinated because I didn't realise, because you were talking about that you can have an injection in your private parts, can't you, to give
Crikey, O'Reilly.
Which,
I think on that note...
No, you must... Because I think that can't be very sexy, can it, if you're having to inject yourself?
If you've got experience of that, let us know. Good morning, Jonathan.
No, I don't want to know.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week often gives you the chance to start afresh. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't quite caught the memo. Stuck in the same pattern, I'm afraid. We've got another area of low pressure quickly moving its way into southwestern areas today. This is going to be bringing some very heavy rainfall. Thundery, torrential downpours are possible, and as a result, there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales. Certainly some localised flooding and travel disruption is possible, so take care. Some of that rain just pushing into southeastern areas of England as well, but the northern half of the UK faring better today with some sunny spells and temperatures responding to that 20 to 21 degrees Celsius here, so feeling a bit more pleasant and warm. But as we head towards that evening rush hour period, please do again take care, because that area of heavy rain will be moving its way into Wales, parts of the Midlands as well. Certainly something to watch out for before you head home later on. The sunshine across Northern Ireland, Northern England just turning a bit hazier into the afternoon with a cloud around, but generally a few showers across Scotland to watch for, but many of us staying dry here, and certainly the Highlands getting off with a decent amount of sunshine still later on in the evening. Just that cloud lingering across the Northern Isles to make it a bit duller and drizzlier here. The area of rain will slowly push its way northwards, but in some ways grind to a halt across parts of North Wales into northern England over towards Yorkshire and the Humber as well. So some further downpours possible here during the overnight period. With all the cloud, though, it is going to be quite a mild night. Generally temperatures holding around 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. That rain will just still be lingering around first thing on Tuesday, gradually pushing its way off towards the North Sea. And behind that, we will start to see some sunny spells and showers developing. Some of those showers, again, could be quite heavy, with the risk of further thunderstorms in there, particularly across the eastern portions of England and up towards Scotland as well. Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. Wednesday looks like it could be a slightly drier day for many of us, but there is further rain that will be quickly moving in from the west. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh, you shocked me. I never won a penny in my life.
If I was there, I'd buy you a drink.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there on this Monday morning. Heartbreak for England.
As Spain take home the European Championship.
It's an agonising defeat as Gareth Southgate and his team fall short right at the last hurdle.
30 years of hurt became 58. We'll now move on to 60 years of hurt, at least until the World Cup in 2 years' time. Let's be honest, England were beaten by the better side, although Cole Palmer gave us hope in the 73rd minute. Spain won 2-1 and lifted their 4th European Championship.
Donald Trump speaks out after the attempted assassination with a plea for unity, claiming he was saved by God alone.
As President Biden calls to lower the temperature of political rhetoric during his Oval Office address overnight.
Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here.
A royal return to Wimbledon. The Princess of Wales has made her second public appearance this year at the men's final yesterday.
A new week, but the weather seems stuck in the same pattern, with heavy rain and thundery downpours on the cards for some of us. Join me later for the details.
The time, 1 minute past 8 o'clock. A very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Here to explain what 30 years becoming 58 means. Paul Coit.
Becoming 60. So 30 years of hurt, the original song, 3 Lions, came out in Euro 96. 30 years of hurt, 'cause it was 30 years from 66. We are now 58 years
Goodness me.
since we last won the World Cup, and the next World Cup will be 60 years.
Crikey.
So it's all in the numbers, Eamonn. It's all in the numbers.
And the best team won on the day.
They did, there's no question. All in the numbers, and it was all in the way the team played. We've got Spain. They won every game in the Euros. They were without doubt the best team that played in that championship. We had moments, didn't we? We won the penalty shootout. We had the last-minute goal from Jude Bellingham. There were moments. Ollie Watkins at the end of the game against the Netherlands, but that was it. That's all they were. There was never one great game where we played terrifically, and
Or
I think
consistency.
that's it. There was no consistency, and even if there was consistency, it wasn't a good way of playing that was consistent.
Let's say a good way of waking up on this Monday morning. Let's go to Berlin live. Jack Carson. Good morning, Jack.
Yeah, good morning to you all. I mean, you know, Paul's right there with what he's saying, and I think that the disappointment that maybe comes with this final is just the excitement that was there in Berlin throughout the day from the England fans. You know, we're all in amongst it. You know, the England fans had managed to probably find every single Irish bar in Berlin, and were gathered outside it just so they could find and have a pint of Guinness. So, you know, you come all these hundreds of miles away from England where you can get Guinness in maybe every single pub, but rather than try the German beer, you stick with your home comfort. So they'd found every single Irish bar. Murphy's Bar in Berlin, which is on the River Spree. The bridge there was just adorned with, you know, tens of just England flags all over the bridge. Thousands had gathered across the city, and that excitement had built all throughout the day. All the anticipation just built and built and built up. And when you've built up that anticipation, that excitement, when you lose, of course, like you do, that just makes it feel, I think, even worse and even more devastating for England fans this morning. You know, it is what it is. Like you're saying, Spain were just the better side in that tournament. England had their moments throughout, but it wasn't to be. And of course, now the question remains as to whether Southgate will stay on as England manager.
Thank you, Jack.
Would you have gone if you didn't have a ticket? Because I know people that have flown.
No.
I wouldn't have done. Flown all the way to Berlin.
No way.
Even without a ticket, not even thinking they're going to get a ticket, just to get the atmosphere, which is all very good when you get there, but when you lose.
Well, you see, I have to say, I'm a club supporter way more than country supporters for any way. I enjoy my club football. That comes ahead of everything. International football, second place for me. No doubt about it.
I haven't seen England win anything. I haven't won Spurs win the title either, so it's all right for you, isn't it? It's all right for you. One of the greats, though. We got one of the greats. Our great friend and the man that's played for England more than anybody else, the great goalkeeper, Peter Shilton. Morning, Peter.
Good to see you, Shilts. Shilts, can I start? Can I ask you about Jordan Pickford first of all? You know, we're talking about who was successful and that sort of thing, and there's not much mention of Jordan Pickford. And I think the fella, I think he could play for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very good goalkeeper. He has his own style. But, you know, it's been effective. I don't think he was actually that overworked in the competition, but last night he made, I thought, one very good save, another one which I think he should have saved anyway. But, you know, he has been a big influence at the back, I think, with his talking and being commanding. So, yeah, I think Jordan's obviously, you know, a good goalkeeper.
When you talk about not being overworked, now, I'm going to go off very slightly because I want to ask you a goalkeeping question to Peter. Do you want to be worked? Well, I know this may sound silly, but when you're in goal, do you want the ball to come to you? Do you think, you know, I want to show what I can do? Or honestly, do you actually want the ball to be as far away from you for the entire game as possible?
I think last night in particular, you probably don't want the ball anywhere near your goal because...
yeah, well, we wouldn't. I don't know whether the keeper would.
It was obvious that, you know, the team were desperate to win. You know, that sort of attitude, you could tell. I mean, at the end, everybody was literally distraught. It was such an opportunity to end all the hurt over the years. And, you know, I think the lads gave the lot. And as a goalkeeper, you know, to answer your question, no, you wouldn't want too much to do. But unfortunately, it didn't work out for us, you know. As it's been said, I think they were the best team overall.
Yeah, I saw David Seaman there.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was there. Everybody was there. Everybody was there.
Can I ask what you make of Gareth Southgate, where you think he should go next, whether he should stay on? And I see you've got a CBE, Peter. Do you think that he should receive a further honour, as is being suggested in some of the papers today?
I wouldn't be against that. I think Gareth's done a very good job. You know, I mean, he's not quite brought it home, but by the same token, you know, he's you know, two finals and a semi-final in the World Cup is a record to be proud of. And I think, to be fair, if I was Gareth, I'd be thinking about my future now, because he took some unbelievable criticism off a lot of the media over the tournament, and I think, you know, is it worth it, sort of thing, because, you know, when you try that hard and you want to win that hard and all you get is criticism after what he's done, you know, he may be thinking about his future.
But sure, every manager gets criticism. And one minute everybody hates you, then they all love you. That's part and parcel of the job. And England is his club. Now, it's like being a club manager. Yep. And he's, you know, England is his club and no one knows it better than him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's been around a little while now as England manager. I'm not saying he can't take the criticism. I just think he may reflect that, hold on a minute, you know, we didn't really get a lot of understanding at times when we weren't at our best. And the knives came out very quickly, you know, and a lot of, I thought, unfair criticism. But Gareth proved it wrong. I mean, last night his substitute, Palmer, came on and hit a terrific shot. And to be fair, people forget, they cleared one off the line late on twice. You know, the keeper parried one out and then a header. And, you know, that goes in. We go into extra time. Anything can happen. So, although I think Spain were the best team, those moments just went against us last night. It was like a ping pong ball, wasn't it, around the goal? You know, it's got to go in, and eventually it didn't. So,
but Peter, the complaint I think from a lot of fans is you can see when the changes need to be made. Why isn't he making them? Why is he 10 minutes behind everybody else in making the changes? If the team's run out of energy, if they need new legs in there, why isn't he doing that immediately?
Well, I think with Watkins last night, there was half an hour to go when he took Kane off, you know, and his two previous substitutions in the previous game came on and changed the game. So, yeah, you know, like I say, people have their own ideas. Everybody wants to be a manager, but Gareth's the one in the heat in the moment that's got to make decisions. And I think, you know, he has been proven right in his substitutions.
Finally, Peter, what do we need? What's going wrong? All these years, we say 58 is going to be 68 years. We get so close, but we never manage to seal it. Going back to when you played against West Germany, we've seen it in Euro 96, we've seen it in the last Euros, we get to the final. What is missing? Is there some sort of killer instinct? Because everybody else seems to move around, we're better than them, and then they go past us. What's wrong with England? What do we need to do? What is missing with us over all these years, do you think?
Well, Italia 90 and Euro 96, we need to be better at penalties, didn't we? We both got done on penalties, so close.
Is it mental? Is it a mental thing that's missing?
No, I think it's just that Spain, you know, they're a better team. You know, they have always had this mentality of being good on the ball and comfortable on the ball, and you know, we're getting there. I mean, our record proves it. You know, but there's no easy one thing. You know, I think you know they are very technically very good, and I think generally we're just that bit better than us on the ball and creativity really last night.
Do you know? I'm just thinking about you, and correct me if I'm wrong here. But did you take over from Gordon Banks at Leicester?
I did, Eamonn. Yes, I was 17, and Gordon. Yeah, I'd already played 3 or 4 games in what is the Premier League. When I was 16, I was still an apprentice on £8 a week, and I played about 3 or 4 games, and did quite well actually. And and Leicester thought I was good enough to go in the first team, and obviously sold Gordon to Stoke. So, yeah, it was quite a...
To follow the banks of England, the World Cup winning goalkeeper.
But then followed him again at Stoke straight after that as well.
Oh, incredible.
Well. Yeah.
Could talk all day.
I went to Stoke, but Gordon was in the youth team then. He'd had his car accident. But
yes, he lost his eye in that. Yeah.
He did, yeah.
Oh, we could talk all day, Peter. We've got to leave it there. Thanks very much, Schultz. Thanks for joining us today.
Lovely. Nice to speak to you all.
Thank you.
God bless. Bye-bye.
I wonder if it's ever going to happen. I do. I wonder if it's ever going to happen.
Come on.
Oh, my goodness me. That's not the right thing for me to be saying.
You're allowed to say it for one day, and then we've got to be back to...
I've realised that I am one of the oldest people never to have seen England win anything. Wow. I was born the year after we won the World Cup, and I've never seen anything. And it's not fair, and things have to change.
There you go. OK. We're going to change now to talk about the USA and America, where Donald Trump has spoken out after the attempted assassination on his life on Saturday.
Yeah, he's been writing on his Truth social media platform, vowing evil will not prevail, as he called for unity and claimed that God alone saved his life.
A message from President Biden. He echoed a similar plea for unity on an Oval Office address. He called for the political temperature to be turned down.
Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace.
Well, US political analyst Dr. Roger Gewolb joins us this morning. And, of course, you know the president. You've had many dinners with him. It is extraordinary that the man is still alive. We know that, tragically, one man, Cory Comparator, died and 2 people in hospital in a critical condition. But the president, we believe, on his way to the GOP convention this week. Up and at it.
Absolutely. And at a rally tonight at the Doral in Florida. Mm-hmm.
So what do you attribute it to? I mean, just good luck, or, as he said, only God alone could have saved him?
Well, it all depends what you want to believe. Personally, I think it is God. I think there's a purpose for him being here, and as he is, there's a purpose for every one of us being here and what we do. And he obviously is meant to continue in his efforts to lead the free world.
Roger, just to put it into context, what you're talking about there, a bullet could not come so close. You know, 99 people out of 100, it would have killed. I mean, he came very, very close to death there.
Totally. I mean, it was inches away.
Not even inches.
No, I mean,
not even
millimeters.
Millimeters.
Yeah.
Millimeters. It's extraordinary. It's frightening. I don't think that many of the rest of us have yet had the shock of it, the reality of it hit us. We've been so busy with football and so many other things, and we saw it happen on TV, and we're seeing the films and memes and all the rest on the internet. But, you know, sometime while we're about to drift off to sleep, I suppose it will hit us what almost happened.
Here's what I don't understand. We look there, there's at least 7 Secret Service people around him. These are people who know their business, they know what they're about, male and female there. How the heck did this shooter get so close?
The shooter was apparently something between 115 and 150 meters away, and I can't tell for sure, but outside the perimeter that was being protected. So the first question is, why wasn't the perimeter greater, given long-range rifles and that? Secondly, I've read and seen commentary that there were Secret Service or other agents or police on most of the roofs, whatever, around there. Why wasn't there someone on this roof? Thirdly, if there was a bird on a roof near the president, the Secret Service would have shot it. And yet there is a post or several posts on Twitter, I don't know if they're real, saying that a man named Jonathan Wills, who was the sniper, who had the assassin in his sights for 3 minutes at least, was not told by his superiors to fire, and did not fire until after the assassin had fired his shots. And finally, that the body on the roof is nothing like the person that actually was the slain killer.
So many conspiracy theories abounding as well. And as you say, we don't know the veracity of that particular tweet.
Yeah.
Kimberly Cheadle, who is the Secret Service Director, has been called and will appear before a House committee on the 22nd of July.
Yeah.
Because there are, frankly, serious questions for the security service to ask. Massive fail for them. And can he now trust the security services going forward?
Well,
and indeed, can President Biden? This is an incredibly tense period in American history at the moment, you would have to say. And it's only going to intensify, isn't it, in the coming months?
Well, yeah. I mean, another thing that's being said is that it's actually President Biden that's in charge of the Secret Service, that Trump's detail had been asking to be beefed up for a long time, but had not had their request fulfilled. It's being investigated by the FBI. This is the same FBI that Trump has been accusing for a long time of having been weaponized and turned against him by Biden. It's a very difficult and confusing situation, but I've been on an awful lot of shows, and it's just too much to take on. And I've had a lot of people, that's why I'm so glad to be with you two and on GB News here. I've had a lot of people say to me, please stop being a conspiracy theorist. Let's just put all this stuff to bed. Well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and this stuff is just too serious to put to bed. We have DNA. We have artificial intelligence. We have lots of other things that we didn't have when JFK was shot. I think someone, but God knows who, if it can't be the FBI or the CIA because they've been weaponized, according to Trump and his people, there must be somebody that can investigate all this, because it's too suspect that they would let somebody shoot before returning fire. I've been around the president and his Secret Service deal. You can't shake hands with him. You have a 9-foot Secret Service man come up, stick out his hand, break your knuckles and say very politely, please, may I shake your hand for the president? I mean, he's very, very careful. So how this could happen it beggars belief, to be honest, and it needs to be looked into, not brushed aside.
Roger, appreciate your take on things. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning, and a developing story this morning. A 34-year-old man, Justin Andres Mosquera, has been charged with 2 counts of murder after human remains were found in suitcases in Bristol and a London flat. He remains in custody and will appear in court later today. The 2 victims have been identified, both known to Mosquera. They are 71-year-old Paul Longworth and 62-year-old Albert Alfonso, who were previously in a relationship.
David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. That's during his first trip to the region since the election. Mr. Lammy held talks with the Israeli Prime Minister before announcing the UK will provide an additional £5 million worth of funding to Gaza.
And the American actress Shannon Doherty has died at just 53 after battling breast cancer. Doherty became a household name when she joined the cast of Little House on the Prairie at 11 years old, before going on to star in Beverly Hills 90210 and Heathers.
Let's get the weather update. How are we starting the week, Jonathan Vautry?
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week often gives you the chance to start afresh. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't quite caught the memo. Stuck in the same pattern, I'm afraid. We've got another area of low pressure quickly moving its way into southwestern areas today. This is going to be bringing some very heavy rainfall. Thundery, torrential downpours are possible, and as a result, there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales. Certainly some localised flooding and travel disruption is possible, so take care. Some of that rain just pushing into southeastern areas of England as well, but the northern half of the UK faring better today with some sunny spells and temperatures responding to that 20 to 21 degrees Celsius here, so feeling a bit more pleasant and warm. But as we head towards that evening rush hour period, please do again take care, because that area of heavy rain will be moving its way into Wales, parts of the Midlands as well. Certainly something to watch out for before you head home later on. The sunshine across Northern Ireland, Northern England just turning a bit hazier into the afternoon with a cloud around, but generally a few showers across Scotland to watch for, but many of us staying dry here, and certainly the Highlands getting off with a decent amount of sunshine still later on in the evening. Just that cloud lingering across the Northern Isles to make it a bit duller and drizzlier here. The area of rain will slowly push its way northwards, but in some ways grind to a halt across parts of North Wales into northern England over towards Yorkshire and the Humber as well. So some further downpours possible here during the overnight period. With all the cloud, though, it is going to be quite a mild night. Generally temperatures holding around 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. That rain will just still be lingering around first thing on Tuesday, gradually pushing its way off towards the North Sea. And behind that, we will start to see some sunny spells and showers developing. Some of those showers, again, could be quite heavy, with the risk of further thunderstorms in there, particularly across eastern portions of England and up towards Scotland as well. Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. Wednesday looks like it could be a slightly drier day for many of us, but there is further rain that will be quickly moving in from the west. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
A lot of commiserations coming in from the football. Nick says Spain's a very good side. Making the final, playing against them is an achievement in itself.
But Sarsi says there's something missing this morning. I thought something was coming home.
Lots of chat about the billionaire's wedding that we were covering in the paper. Rob agrees with you, Eamonn. I don't like weddings. It should be a more personal thing. He said he got married in his lunch break, still together 50 years ago, and used the money saved to buy a washing machine and a bed.
Wow.
So there we go.
How romantic.
I know. Robert, all those travelling to the wedding in India are those that always scream about climate change and want to push us into poverty with net zero, but they all arrived in private jets. What hypocrites!
Thanks for that. Keep those views coming in this morning. There's how you do it, the address on the screen. Still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £30,000. It's the Great British Giveaway.
Yes, it is our biggest cash prize of the year. What would you do with all that extra cash? Here's a thought. But first of all, how you could enter it.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, the King and Queen set to head down under later in the year. We have all the details with Cameron Walker.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Welcome back. Stefan Kyriazis has ever been to the theatre and saw one of the most successful performers of the modern age, one who has made his name in different genres on television and is always a magnetic presence on the stage. About whom are we talking, Stefan?
We're talking about James Corden at the Old Vic for The Constituent, and it's traverse staging. So audience on either side, and it's a fantastic experience. But also it's been done this time to bring everything in a lot and make it quite intimate, because you just have one simple set. It's just a table, office space. This is a new play by Joe Penhall, and it's addressing very, very current issues of safety, especially for people in public service. Doctors, nurses, teachers, and of course, as you know, politicians that are at risk and being attacked. So we have Joe Cox, Sir David Ames, and we have politicians talking about cancelling their surgeries, not wanting to appear in public, teachers being threatened. And James Corden plays an ex-serviceman who is going through a difficult divorce, dealing with a lot of PTSD, also feeling very much like fathers are overlooked, and he wants to fight for their rights. And an old school friend is a local MP, played by Anna Maxwell Martin. And he goes in to start talking to her, and it starts off quite chummy and jovial, and then it darkens and darkens. He gets quite aggressive and frustrated. She wants to help. She's an absolute idealist. This politician sense of we don't choose who we work for. You know, we are here by duty to work for everybody in our constituency. It spirals a lot. I have to say, Corden, sensational. Really? He really is a fantastic actor. Of all of them, he's so natural, and he has the most difficult role where his character is shifting all the time and becomes potentially quite threatening and dangerous, but then there's also a beautiful catharsis at the end.
The People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have saved Storm. You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The Princess of Wales delighted the public at Wimbledon yesterday, where she presented the men's final winner, Carlos Alcaraz, with his trophy.
Well, it's been a busy few days for the royals. Prince William and Prince George returning from the Euros in Berlin, just as the King and Queen set off on a tour of the Channel Islands.
Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker is here with all of that. Fabulous to see the Waleses out and about, looking fit and well. Only our second view, really, of Kate this year. And, you know, nice quick game for her.
Yeah.
She didn't have to sit through hours and hours of tennis. But looking remarkably bonny, I suppose, and, you know, can only hope that that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think it certainly is. And you just had to look at the crowd's reaction when the princess entered the royal box in centre court. She got a huge standing ovation. I think she looked a little bit kind of taken aback as to the crowd's reaction, actually, because there was really kind of cheering and screaming for the Princess of Wales. As you said, it's only the second time we've seen her since her cancer diagnosis. And I think we can see this as a positive sign that as she rests a bit more during the summer, that perhaps later on in the year we'll start to see her out and about a bit more. But of course, Kensington Palace not putting a time frame on it. She also had the support of her daughter, the Princess Charlotte, and her sister, Pippa Matthews, as well at Wimbledon. So, yeah, really good day out for her.
And the Prince of Wales out with his mini-me as well.
Yeah.
Over in Berlin. And really sweet and touching, lots of embracing and grimacing and all the sort of colours of a football fan, all the emotions, but we're going through it together, which was really lovely.
Yes, and we didn't just have one royal family, we had two royal families at the game yesterday. There was a lovely picture, actually, of the King of Spain with Prince William and Prince George at the match. I suspect the King of Spain went home a bit happier than Prince George and Prince William did, but there's these amazing photographs, which hopefully we can show you on GBNews website, of William and Prince George embracing as a loving father and son, something we wouldn't have seen in generations gone by with members of the royal family, and also completely losing it when England did score their one goal of the match. It was really lovely to see. They were really cheering on the England team.
Fantastic. And meanwhile, the King and Queen off to the Channel Islands today.
Yes, it's the first time they have been since King Charles has become king. The last time he visited was 2012. The Channel Islands Crown dependencies, of course, are not part of the United Kingdom. So we here might not be getting a bank holiday after the Euros loss, but Jersey and Guernsey both getting a bank holiday because of the royal visit. They're incredibly excited. We see the preparations that the Channel Islands have been giving for the King and Queen's arrival. They're in Jersey today, travelling to Guernsey tomorrow. And I think it is quite special for them because it's not very often that members of the royal family visit the Channel Islands. It is a crown dependency. The King is head of state in both the bailiwicks of Jersey and Guernsey. But of course, it's quite far, and we've got a lot of places to visit. So we'll see how it goes.
It's the Queen's birthday on Wednesday.
It is a very busy week for the King, again, because on Wednesday he's going to be attending Parliament for the state opening of Parliament. As you say, Eamonn, it's the Queen's 77th birthday on Wednesday as well. And the Queen actually said recently to an author that the King is not doing as he's told and he's not slowing down, because we have to be mindful, of course, that he's still undergoing cancer treatments, and yet he's got a very busy week this week. And Buckingham Palace has announced this morning that both him and the Queen will be going to Australia and Samoa in October for a royal tour.
You say he's being naughty and not doing what the doctors are ordering,
The
but
Queen
actually,
is.
The Queen has said that.
The Queen has said
but
that.
the Queen has
Yeah.
said that. But actually, doctors' orders are that he can't go on to New Zealand, and he is heeding that advice. So he's just doing Australia and Samoa, which puzzled me a little bit, because it seems once you're all the way down there, it's just another 4-hour flight across to New Zealand.
4-hour flight.
Yeah.
I remember flying over Australia one time and thinking, you land in Australia and then you couldn't do it. Go to New Zealand, too far for me.
It is quite far. Buckingham Palace spokesperson tells me this morning that the engagements are going to be very limited. So usually for a royal tour, the King and Queen would do 7 or 8 engagements a day. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think it is going to be very limited, perhaps a week in Australia. And then the Samoa Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting is from 21st to 25th of October, which suggests it's going to be either the week before or week after that. But it's a long flight, Eamonn, as you say. It's more than 24 hours.
I mean, it's about saying another 4 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. That's a whole working day.
Yeah.
No, not for me.
I mean, he's not going to be flying in economy, but I'm sure it's still going to be tiring for him.
Doctors there, so if he needed treatment whilst he's away, that's surely feasible. Anyway, I was just surprised that was the medical reason was, fair enough, it's exhausting. Well, he's gone that far.
I think his medical would be tied into a timetable of when he has chemo
and how long there is between it and where he has chemo and whatever.
Yeah, and I suspect he would not be going if the doctors did not give the green light. And the King is clearly very determined to go. And it was only in January that the Australian government shelved plans for a referendum on the Republic.
Thank you, my friends. Speak again. That's after 9 o'clock or so. Thank you very much indeed, Cameron. Still to come, Paul Coit has, well, the rest of the sport besides the football next.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, here's Paul back again, and we've talked all the football, Paul, so that leaves Wimbledon.
Yes, what do we think? Carlos Alcaraz managed to beat Novak Djokovic yesterday.
Fantastic.
Very.
Wonderful tennis. I mean, so fast.
Apart from the tiebreak, very easily, didn't he? I
yeah.
mean, he really did just walk over him. When it got to, I don't know whether you felt this, but when it got to that serving out and it looked like he was going to finish it very easily, it looked like he got a little bit wobbly, didn't he, Alcaraz? Do you think that, Eamonn? Didn't you see when he was serving out?
He couldn't serve a championship point.
And it was at that moment, that's when you think there's real, true champions.
I would get this over that net. He just kept hitting the net.
But I found that was the thing with Djokovic, though. I've never seen
me neither.
him hit forehands into the net as much as he did. I mean, it is remarkable, the fact that he did get as far as he did, you know, with the knee injury and he had the operation. But, I mean, he is, in my opinion, the greatest tennis player that's ever played.
Really?
I am going to say that with Djokovic. Whether I like him...
I'm Federer.
I love Federer. He was my favourite, and I love others. I love Borg and I love McEnroe. But I think Novak Djokovic, an incredible player, but he just wants that one more. He needs one more. If he wins, he's won 24 majors, so 24 Grand Slams. He needs one more, which would be there, and he beat Margaret Court, who's got that record. And it's the same as Wimbledon as well. Whether he's going to win another Wimbledon, nobody's getting any younger. 37, you've got the changing of the guard then with Alcaraz coming in at 21 years old. Already 2 Wimbledons.
I know, amazing. Yeah.
Well, we've got to change the guard as well. We've got to say goodbye to you at this stage.
What, did I say something that offended you there?
No, we're just got the tennis, got the football, got the tennis done. Tick the box. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Not at all. We've got Biggins, we've got Dawn Neeson, they got the papers next.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
We'll be there.
This is GB News.
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Ellie Costello, and thank you so much for joining us here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we've got quite an extraordinary story to talk to you about now, because a triple amputee war hero is launching a bid to become the first to sail across the Pacific Ocean non-stop, solo and unsupported.
Craig Wood was blown up as a teenager by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but now he's hoping to change the perception of disabled people and raise money for other limbless veterans like himself. And Craig joins us now. Morning.
So, Craig, you are extraordinary. You are planning to take up to 80 days to sail from La Paz in Mexico to Japan.
Yeah.
How many miles is that?
It'd be over 6,000.
Amazing.
Amazing. And it will take you how long?
The minimum it's going to take me is 60 days. It could be up to 80. Yeah.
And that's on your own. You've done plenty of this before, haven't you? You've done lots of solo sailing.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of solo sailing, but not as big as this. It is the world's biggest ocean, after all.
And why that particular route?
I wanted it to be a challenge, not just for me, but for anyone.
Right.
So any able-bodied person can look at this and go, wow, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And so that was the main drive. Then it's become a bigger thing than that now. Now I'm raising money for charity, and I can truly inspire people to change their perception on what is possible for disabled people.
And if you don't mind, can we ask you what happened in 2009 in Afghanistan? What were the circumstances of your injury?
I was on a normal routine foot patrol. About 5 metres in front of me, a commando IED was triggered. And subsequently, I became a triple amputee, both legs above the knee, left hand at the wrist, facial injuries, etc., etc.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true.
You're
not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Let's look at the newspapers today. We've got Dawn and we've got Christopher Biggins. And, guys, so you're concerned, Chris, where Prince Louis was last night. So we had Princess Charlotte and Prince George, one in Berlin, one at Wimbledon. But you're wondering about Louis.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't sleep all night. I mean, it was tragic. Well, I hope he was at home having some supper. You know, enjoy. I think it was rather good that they just... Because Louis is wonderful, but he is sort of a scene stealer, isn't he?
He's only 6.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, you know, I'm sure that he'll have lots of opportunities to go to all sorts of things. But he was probably at home playing with his Lego.
It was probably past his bedtime, wasn't he? He was probably tired.
Yes.
But he could have gone to Wimbledon, though. That was during the day. He could have gone to
Wimbledon. But that's a long session for a 6-year-old.
That's a long session for my age. I couldn't see.
Yeah, and much longer than the football. If it goes to 5 sets, that's 4 or 5 hours.
No, that's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he was probably having a very nice time at home, relaxing without having his brother and sister or parents there. Really rather good.
The police have told an MP to accept abuse as part of her job. But can I just say, that's true.
Well, exactly, Eamonn. I wanted to do this story, obviously, in the light of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump over the weekend and some of the horrific abuse we saw of election candidates during the general election, in particular women. And this is our Stella Creasy, Labour MP for Walthamstow, East London, talking out about how she was called a child killer in front of her daughter, has been followed and stalked, had a window in her constituency office smashed with a hammer, and she went to the police to complain about it, and the police literally told her, well, it's part of your job. Now, the thing is, yes, it is, obviously, but it shouldn't be. And did you know there was something called Operation Bridger, which is a national policing programme to keep election candidates safe? I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know it existed. It's really not working, is it? I mean, you think of Jess Phillips standing up when she was elected and the abuse she was getting. And they've had people have been followed down the streets. I mean, Jonathan Ashworth had to hide in a local vicarage to protect himself from a mob of men.
Well, what's happened to Nigel Farage, milkshakes and stones thrown at him, and then you just look across the pond and, you know, we've got politicians being shot at.
Well, this is the thing. And the amount
I wonder what happened to the guy that threw all that stuff at Nigel Farage.
I'm sure they've been charged.
It was a girl. It was a young girl.
Would
you be milkshake? Yeah, the guy.
But you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised they'll either not be charged or they've got some really puny sort of punishments or whatever. And if they were serious about this, they'd make examples of these people.
Yeah, they should do. And the thing is, people on the left go, oh, well, it was only a milkshake, and, you know, the likes of Trump and Farage deserve it. No, it wasn't only a milkshake. It could have been acid. Exactly. That's the point. And it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with someone's politics. It doesn't give you a right to physically attack them in any way.
To be fair, when you say people on the left, I mean, I don't think Keir Starmer has said anything of that nature. I mean, you know, it's a bit of a sweeping statement.
No. On the left. No. But having a go at I don't mean people on the left like the politicians on the left, but the liberal left who are saying, you know, oh, Trump, we need to shoot Trump, get rid of Trump. This is all on social media all the time, and Farage gets similar abuse, and it's like, yeah, OK, we know you don't mean it, we know you're not going to pull the trigger. But that sort of rhetoric in politics is dangerous. I mean, we lost Joe Cox, we lost David Amess.
But also, I think we've got to look at things like the royal family, who are very vulnerable. They, you know, the Queen was just marvellous. Do you remember when she went down the Mall?
Yes.
In that open car and she got out to the other end, you know, and it was dark. And so easily, I mean, I suppose...
Anne had a gunman got into her car on the Mall.
That is true, on the Mall as well,
the Queen had someone come into her room, didn't she?
Yes,
when
sit on the bed.
Oh, yes, sat on the bed and talked to her and said, you know...
And that guy with the crossbow at Balmoral.
Oh.
Yes.
Who was arrested as well.
Yeah.
I mean... set out to kill Her Majesty the Queen.
I mean, but they don't. They always go out there with, and you know, they don't seem to have any qualms about it. I think they're brilliant, the royal family, how they do
we
that.
want our politicians to be behind glass boxes, you know, away from the public? No, because the point of being a politician is you're in touch with the public and what we want. We vote for you. We don't want them locked away, but it's getting to that stage.
Yeah, but if you attacked somebody back, somebody who attacked you, they would be in big trouble.
They're very big trouble.
Yeah. Do you remember when Prescott punched someone in the face
yes.
and chucked an egg at him?
The guy that threw the egg.
Yeah.
But, you know, I really stood up and applauded Prescott that day. He was brilliant.
Brilliant.
Well, that's what he was hired for, wasn't he? He was hired to be the sort of the thug to the gentleman. That was the idea, wasn't it?
And Angela Rayner, I reckon she'd have a go back as well.
Yeah, don't egg her. Chris, let's talk about the royal tour. We hear this morning that the King and Queen won't be venturing as far as New Zealand, but they will be going to Samoa and Australia.
Well, I think that, you know, going all that way... and I know it's a long journey, but I think perhaps if they're worried, perhaps he shouldn't be going at all.
I do think it's
odd. I'm surprised they're going.
Yeah, I am. I really am. I think it's odd. You know, because
I think that people who haven't done an Australian trip or a New Zealand trip just have no comprehension of how long it is.
It is, and I'm sure that they'll go first class or whatever, private jet or whatever. Have a bed. But even so, it is, the jet lag is unbelievable, and I can't think that will help him at all.
No, but if you're already down there in the time zone, 4 hours across to New Zealand, spend a week there.
Yeah. It's bizarre. It's bizarre thinking. And I think if I was a New Zealander, I'd be very upset.
Yeah. And you know, they
Why? It's the ass end of nowhere.
No, but
how can you expect a sick man to go that distance?
No, but have
you been to Australia? Have you been to New
I've been
Zealand?
to Borneo, which is right next to Australia. Yeah, it's a long way.
It's too far. It's absolutely ridiculous.
No, but he shouldn't be going. I agree. But if he is going, why go to?
Because it's an extra 4 hours each way, which is 8 hours, which is a working day. Goodness me.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Biggins. I think if you can get as far as Australia...
You got my vote on it. Yeah, it's like going to bloody Antarctica, isn't it, next? It's, no, not for me.
That's where we're going to send you, Eamonn.
I quite fancy Antarctica.
I'd love to go to see the penguins.
No, I quite fancy going.
Yeah, I'd like to go.
Well, what, in 3 leaps or something, and get to Dubai and then go to India or something, stay off.
I've got a big birthday coming up this year. I was thinking of one of those Antarctic cruises where, where you... Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah. Or possibly Australia and New Zealand, David. Don't start.
Biggins, let's talk about knitting. Apparently, we've become hooked on knitting.
Well, Tom Daly, you know, who's been doing knitting for a long, long time. I did a series called Porridge, and I knitted in that. And I chose to knit because he was gay, my character, and I thought, rather than be overtly gay, I thought it was quite funny to have a subtlety in my acting and do knitting, you know, as a sort of gesture. But they've decided now, and Tom Daly, as I said, has been doing this for years, that knitting is said to make people happier and boosts health. And I think it's because it's quite calming. You know, I think sitting there...
It's very difficult.
It is difficult,
busy hands, calm mind.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also there are different techniques you need to use, and I think it can be quite exciting what you produce. I mean, you know, Tom Daly's produced some fantastic things. But do you remember, Eamonn, ever having a woolen pair of swimming trunks?
I knew this was coming.
A woolen pair of swimming trunks?
Yeah.
Never.
We did. I did, rather.
They would get very wet and get very heavy.
It's horrible.
Down around your ankles.
Absolutely horrible. They were vile. I never forgave my mother for putting me in them. They were horrible. And they you know, they squelched, you know, it was just awful.
How did we get onto this?
Well, knitting.
Yeah. Biggins is always going to end up there, don't worry. At some point,
if you're listening out there, don't knit me a pair of swimming trunks, please.
Oh, please do.
Wear them.
I can think of nothing worse than sitting there knitting, to be honest with you. I'd be so bad at it, I'd just end up getting frustrated.
But I think the concentration is good, though, I think. And a lot of women do it, and men do it whilst watching television.
Oh, my Lord.
You know, and crocheting, too, is very...
Yeah. So, Dawn, there may have been some plans for victory parades and things following Euro. Where are we at now with the England football team and welcoming them home?
Well, we're not going to do anything now. I mean, there was a huge open-top bus parade lined up through London. Prince William was going to be there, possibly the King as well. They were going to end up at Buckingham
He's in New
Palace.
Zealand, remember?
Well, it depends when it is.
Sorry.
And 500,000 fans were expected to line the streets, well, it's not happening, is it? It's all of this was planned, but obviously you have to rely on the fact that this is England we're talking about, and we're probably going to wait another, 58 years before we actually win anything. And we didn't do it for the women, so why should we do it for the men? Because the women have won it, remember?
Yeah, and they were brilliant.
Yeah. But we tend to forget about that.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, they didn't do it for the women because at that particular time, no one would have turned up.
I would have gone.
Well, it would have been a very, very minimal crowd in comparison to the men. But I'm just saying, I think now it's different. I think now the popularity of...
It was only a couple of years ago.
But it's a massive difference. They couldn't sell television rights a couple of years ago for women's football.
Well, you'd struggle after this tournament for the men's, wouldn't you? I mean, some of the football we saw was dreadful. Not just England, by the way.
And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think the tournament was dull.
Wasn't it?
I think nobody could sit and say, oh, look at the Euros, whatever it is.
No.
All tactical,
I almost sat and watched tennis instead. It was that bad.
Yeah, you can see that.
Sorry, Isabel, were you going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with everything you were saying.
And we're agreeing that tennis is the best.
Yeah.
It's team
Forget
tennis
football.
versus team football over here, I'm sorry.
No, it's team tennis
I
over
did
here.
do the cliche and get my tennis racket out yesterday and have a go, like I do every year after
Did you?
Wimbledon. Yeah, I had a little go, it was rubbish.
Where, in the garden, or did you go to a proper court?
Near home, yeah,
Oh,
not
right.
far from home.
But the parks are always full of people just during Wimbledon and just after Wimbledon, aren't they, practicing their tennis?
I practice by eating strawberries and cream.
Quaffing champagne.
And quaffing champagne.
I can honestly say that during the summer months, the 6 weeks or whatever of the summer, I am bereft, absolutely bereft that there is no domestic football.
Oh, yeah.
And I sit and go, and you're just counting the day, and when club football returns, then life resumes.
I heard what you said to Katie earlier on, and with you, I mean, yeah, I watch England, I support England, but, I mean, I'd much rather West Ham win things than England win things, to be honest with you.
It's like the sports pages, and you're reading it's international football on the back, and you go, get through all this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the same.
No, absolutely.
See, I don't even switch on to football until it's England.
That's frankly weird.
Yeah, but then I don't follow a club, but I support my country, so that's just the way I am.
Also, I was pretty appalled today in reading all the papers where the football is on every single front page and the tennis is reduced to page 4.
Yeah, but that's because we didn't have a England player. If it was Murray in the final yesterday, it would have been different.
He's
but I think that
Scottish.
because we've... Oh, yeah, sorry, you're but a Brit. Whereas, you know, here we are talking about England.
Yeah, I suppose so,
Well, we have got the Olympics coming up.
Yeah.
Quite like the Olympics, quite like a bit more sport, Team GB.
See, but again, you see, I think you're all hypocritical. I can't stand the way you all talk. You don't watch anything. You don't support athletics during the year. You do not. The television companies don't show it. And then along comes the Olympics, and everybody who doesn't watch sport watches sport for 3 weeks or whatever it happens to be, and that we're all expected to know who these people are when we don't know who that cyclist is, who that runner is. We don't, because they're not giving. It used to be that it was on television, it was on BBC every Friday night and whatever, and you knew who was taking part.
No, that's true. They don't cover it now. It is all very...
And we all get desperate to get tickets for it. You know, friends of mine have just paid £18,000 for a ticket to go to Paris.
Wow. What do they want to watch, the 100 metres or something?
No, the final or the opening.
Oh, what, not even any sport?
No.
Oh, no, thanks.
Oh, gosh, no thanks.
I'd love to see the gymnastics. That's just such a spectacular thing to watch. And ice skating in the winter.
Yeah.
I remember being at the Commonwealth Games when they were held in Manchester, and you simply look down onto a pitch and there is shot put going on there, there's javelin going on there, there's running going on around the track. You don't know what to be looking at.
No, I know.
Well, there's sport going on, sorry, weather going on here. I'm going to say goodbye to you two.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week often gives you the chance to start afresh. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't quite caught the memo. Stuck in the same pattern, I'm afraid. We've got another area of low pressure quickly moving its way into southwestern areas today. This is going to be bringing some very heavy rainfall. Thundery, torrential downpours are possible, and as a result, there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales. Certainly some localised flooding and travel disruption is possible, so take care. Some of that rain just pushing into southeastern areas of England as well, but the northern half of the UK faring better today with some sunny spells and temperatures responding to that 20 to 21 degrees Celsius here, so feeling a bit more pleasant and warm. But as we head towards that evening rush hour period, please do again take care, because that area of heavy rain will be moving its way into Wales, parts of the Midlands as well. Certainly something to watch out for before you head home later on. The sunshine across Northern Ireland, Northern England just turning a bit hazier into the afternoon with a cloud around, but generally a few showers across Scotland to watch for, but many of us staying dry here, and certainly the Highlands getting off with a decent amount of sunshine still later on in the evening. Just that cloud lingering across the Northern Isles to make it a bit duller and drizzlier here. The area of rain will slowly push its way northwards, but in some ways grind to a halt across parts of North Wales into northern England over towards Yorkshire and the Humber as well. So some further downpours possible here during the overnight period. With all the cloud, though, it is going to be quite a mild night. Generally temperatures holding around 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. That rain will just still be lingering around first thing on Tuesday, gradually pushing its way off towards the North Sea. And behind that, we will start to see some sunny spells and showers developing. Some of those showers, again, could be quite heavy, with the risk of further thunderstorms in there, particularly across the eastern portions of England and up towards Scotland as well. Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. Wednesday looks like it could be a slightly drier day for many of us, but there is further rain that will be quickly moving in from the west. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's heartbreak for England.
Spain have taken home the European Championship.
It's an agonising defeat as Gareth Southgate and his team fall short at the last hurdle.
Well, Spain were the best team in Euro 2024, winning every one of their 7 games, including beating England in the final 2-1. And as the dust begins to settle, the question is, will Gareth Southgate stay as England manager?
In other news, Donald Trump speaks out after the attempted assassination on him on Saturday night with a plea for unity. He claims he was saved by God alone.
As President Biden calls to lower the temperature of political rhetoric during his Oval Office address overnight.
Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here.
And a royal return to Wimbledon. The Princess of Wales made an appearance at the men's final yesterday, handing over the winning trophies.
A new week, but the weather seems stuck in the same pattern, with heavy rain and thundery downpours on the cards for some of us. Join me later for the details.
1 minute past 9 on this Monday morning. Good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, football is not coming home, as I'm sure you realise by now. An agonising game for England. They went down 2-1 in the European Championship final last night.
Yeah, 58 years of hurt continuing. Paul Coit here with us this morning to reflect on it all. A disappointing performance, probably, from England.
I think it was, but I think it was pretty much par for the course throughout the whole Euros. Football's not coming home, but I don't think its home is here, to be honest with you, because it seems to be everywhere else apart from here. It wasn't one of the great performances. It wasn't what we hoped for. There was that moment when Cole Palmer scored that terrific goal after 73 minutes. You do. I did. And I think everybody thought, well, if there's the momentum, we can move on from there. But it didn't happen. And then Spain scored 2 minutes to go, and they deserved it. No. I don't think anybody would actually begrudge Spain doing this. I tell you what was interesting. Did you see when they got the medals? I don't know if you saw the ceremony at the end where everybody gets the medals. I don't know how I feel about this, because there were some England players, they get given the medal, but then they take it off. This seems to be a thing in football now, whereas if I'm not the winner, I don't want the medal. I don't know if it began with...
Mourinho was a big advocate of that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, take the medal, be gracious with it, and just move on. And another 2 years then, so it's in America, Canada and Mexico, and we'll have a go at the World Cup. But who the manager is, I really don't know. Let's hear from Gareth Southgate. Anyway, this is what he had to say after the game yesterday.
Very proud of the group of players. They couldn't have given me any more. They couldn't have given the country any more. So ultimately, we lost to the better side, and we have to reflect on, how that happened. But it's very clear in my mind the game. As I said, for me, the key was possession of the ball tonight, and we didn't have enough control.
Well, he's not saying the manager wouldn't be him.
He's not, but the thing is, you can't really say what's going to happen so soon after the game. He's going to have time to reflect, as he said. But he seemed more down, I think, than I've ever seen Gareth Southgate. He was very upset about it, which is understandable. It's another final, it's another loss. And I don't think he's going to be sticking around.
I expect he wasn't alone in feeling down. Let's check in with our GB News reporter, Jack Carson, who's in Berlin for us. And let's be honest, Jack, a bit glum there this morning.
Yeah, I think it is, and when you're around the fans as we were in Berlin yesterday, especially the England fans, and that excitement that was building all throughout the day. It was a 9 o'clock kickoff here, Germany time, so you'd had the whole day of drinking, of having a lot of fun, of getting to sightsee, and all this anticipation and excitement was building, and of course it couldn't just get over the line for England, and so there'll be a lot of, I'm sure, England fans going home this morning. A lot of them, as we'd heard, had made all those imaginative ways, across this whole tournament, whether it was getting to Dusseldorf or Dortmund or Cologne or the final in Berlin. These England fans had travelled tens of thousands of miles back and forth from England to Germany to watch their team, to back their team. England, I think, really felt that towards the end of the tournament. We've just followed them, ourselves just from the quarter-finals onwards, but the atmosphere at all of them has just been fantastic, and it's when you actually are on the ground with all the England fans and even the friendly rivalries that you get with all of the other national teams international teams that you're playing. It's just so much fun, and there's just such a better atmosphere now, at tournaments than maybe there was kind of 20 years ago when there had been troubles, with fans in the past. So yeah, it's been a fantastic experience here at the Euros, and I've even got myself a bit of a souvenir from the stadium here in Berlin.
What is that? What is it? A blanket?
Is it, tea towel?
What is it? I don't know. What is it?
A very minute beach towel?
It's
pillowcase.
It's some tarpaulin that's usually on some of the fences, some branded tarpaulin.
What are you going to do with that?
So it's my little souvenir to take home.
Jack stole that, didn't he?
What do you want?
He's just
on the wall somewhere, maybe?
I think so. I think so. I've done that sort of thing before. You can't buy tarpaulin, in the shops.
Tarpaulin. I've always wanted some of that.
I know. Euro 24 tarpaulin. That's what all the kids want. Well done, Jack.
Thanks, Coity. Appreciate it. Right, we're going to talk politics now. We're joined by the Shadow Foreign Secretary, Andrew Mitchell. Very good morning to you. First of all, your thoughts on the performance of the Lions last night?
Well, I thought that it was a fabulous match, and I'm very sorry that football isn't coming home. But I thought they played a great game, and I really enjoyed watching it. I don't follow football that closely, although obviously representing the royal town of Sutton Coldfield, I strongly support Aston Villa, and Ollie Watkins is clearly a god.
He did very well, didn't he, against the Netherlands? And at least you're honest about it, because I know lots of former Conservative leaders have come unstuck when asked about their football supporting sort of talent and abilities. What about Gareth Southgate? I know you're not a football man, but obviously there's lots of talk about whether or not he should get a peerage. He's also been simultaneously pilloried and condemned and even had beer thrown at him. But a good leader of men, in your view?
Yes, I think he's done a fabulous job. I wouldn't wish a peerage on him. I don't think he'd particularly enjoy that. But a knighthood, I see, has been suggested, and that, of course, is not a matter for me or indeed for politicians, really. But I think he's led the England team very, very well.
Good. OK, well, let's move on to all things politics then. And obviously, huge news day yesterday with the breaking news overnight about former President Trump and the assassination attempt. Serious questions for his security detail. What are your thoughts on that this morning?
Well, I think there are serious questions for the security detail. It was, of course, an appalling act of violence and wickedness. And I thought that President Biden put it very well from the Oval Office when he talked about the coarsening of debate and the fact that we need to have a very close look at how we conduct our politics. And the Speaker of the House of Commons in London made similar comments, I think, over the weekend, where he said that we need to respect our politicians more, but that politicians need to respect each other more as well. And I hope that on the back of the elections that we've just been through here, where candidates of all parties, particularly women, suffered the most appalling acts of abuse and were often put in very frightening positions. I hope very much that we can have a sort of national debate now about how we clean that up. Otherwise, you just won't get good people coming into politics, and that would be a tremendous loss for all of us and for democracy.
And Nigel Farage has been writing about his own concerns, having been a victim of some of that abuse during the campaign. Have you ever yourself felt under threat? And, is there anything that you personally are changing in your behaviour in light of this kind of increased abuse and vitriol that we're seeing in public life?
No, I mean, I've never ever felt unsafe in Sutton Coldfield, but obviously I have staff in our office. Our office is very prominent on the high street, and we take advice from the security services about what we should do about that. But I think it's incredibly important that politics remains open. I think if there ever comes a time when I can't walk through the streets and roads of my constituency able to talk to people and have an interaction with them, that would be a very, very bad day for democracy. So we must try and keep it completely open, but we have to be sensible about it as well.
How confident are you that the rhetoric and that the respect will be paramount during any Conservative Party leadership contest? Because in the past we've seen things get pretty tense there, haven't we? We've also seen Liz Truss over the weekend throwing accusations at Rishi Sunak as well for trouncing her reputation. Kemi Badenoch being mooted as the only one who can slay the reform dragon. I mean, how helpful is that sort of language?
Well, I think that none of that is outside the normal political discourse that you would expect. I think it's very important, though, that we adhere to the old principle that, we should play the ball and not the man or woman. And I hope very much that that's the sort of advice that will guide what needs now to be a debate on both sides of the Atlantic about how you protect democracy and the terms upon which our democratic debate is conducted. And I think, as I said, I think the Speaker was very wise in what he said at the weekend, and politicians of all different stripes should reflect on what he said.
Andrew Mitchell, good to have you this morning. Thanks very much indeed.
And it would be good to have £30,000 in the bank, the Great British Giveaway. It's their biggest cash prize of the year. And here's how you could win it.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Indeed, that would be fabulous. It would really set you up for the summer.
We have the fabulous Cameron Walker here to talk about the fabulous royal family next.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm joined now by Stefan Kyriasis to give us the latest on everything theatre.
So, yeah, we're going in first with Starlight Express, which is back. It's not in the West End. It's out at Wembley at the Troubadour Theatre, which is a big, almost kind of warehouse space, which suits because, as you know, have you seen the show?
Starlight Express was my first ever musical. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old. I only saw it once, but I remember it being magical.
Well, this one, it's 1984 it started, and it's still running in Bochum in Germany in a huge arena. So basically what we've got, they've slightly tweaked it, and there's a little boy or little girl, depending on the cast, going to bed, obsessed with toy trains and dreaming of trains. Everybody is dressed up. To me, it looks like a cross between Tron and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I don't really think any of them look remotely like a train, but hey, the songs are Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's pop mixed with kind of cod 1950s rock and roll, some power ballads. The lyrics are politely like something out of an old speak and spell machine or something, you know. He's a steam train, they're out of date, he's being bullied by the diesel and the electric, and he falls for this carriage, the first-class carriage, new girl Pearl, and he wants to impress her, so he enters a race, and that's pretty much it. And when the races happen, all these barriers come up around where we're sitting, the lights are flashing, the music's thumping. It's utterly ridiculous, and I felt like a kind of teenager that was huffing sherbet dib-dabs off a giant block of sugar. It's so much fun, and the really crucial thing about it all is that somehow, in the middle of all of that, I just felt myself getting into the story. And when Pearl and Rusty have their little duet, I was very moved, and there's this big starlight sequence, which is the inspiration, the magical starlight that he's seeking. It's beautiful.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We were talking about the tennis and sport earlier, and the Princess of Wales delighted everyone at Wimbledon yesterday. She presented the men's final winners, Carlos Alcaraz, with his trophy.
Yes, and it's been a busy few days for the Royals, of course, because Prince William and Prince George were at the Euros last night, and the King and Queen are due to set off on their tour of the Channel Islands today.
Well, our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, is with us today. So a lot to get through here, Cameron. Where do you want to begin?
Yeah, there certainly is. Let's start with the Princess of Wales. Of course, the crowd's reaction was incredible for her. Only her second public appearance yesterday since her cancer diagnosis. Also a great day out for Princess Charlotte as well. She was actually gifted the racket that Barbora Krejcikova used to win the ladies singles on Saturdays. Kate also revealing that Princess Charlotte had been practicing her tennis over the weekend ahead of Wimbledon. So I suspect she's a very big fan of tennis. She was wearing a beautiful dress, Cecilia Lilac midi dress by Sophia, which would set you back £1,200. So it's very expensive.
Princess Charlotte was?
Sorry, the Princess of Wales. Sorry, I misspoke. Princess of Wales. No idea. I don't know what dress Princess Charlotte was wearing, but I think it was something which I think the Princess of Wales was determined to be at, because she's the patron of Wimbledon, of course.
Well, yeah, but there was lots of question marks about whether or not she would be able to cope with the long game of tennis, and thankfully it was 3 quick sets. But she looked great, and she had her girl tribe, didn't she? Had a sister with her and her daughter, who very much looked in support of her, and it was fabulous to see. And then Prince William with his mini-me last night in Berlin.
Yes, and
matching outfits and everything.
Absolutely, wearing ties, suit and ties. There was a little bit of criticism online actually about Prince George being forced to wear a suit and tie rather than a football shirt. But I think if you're in the royal box, you're going to be wearing a suit and tie, aren't you? And there's these wonderful images online of both Prince William and George embracing father-son relationship, something you wouldn't have seen with previous generations of the royal family in public. Them both screaming when England's got their one and only goal of the tournament. And of course, it was not one but two royal families there, because we had the Spanish king and his youngest daughter there as well. It's a bit of diplomacy as well.
Yeah, good soft diplomacy. Now, you've got some royal news in terms of the King and Queen this morning.
Yes, we do. The Australian and New Zealand governments have released new images of the King and Queen taken in Buckingham Palace in the white drawing room. It's of them wearing their Australian and separately their New Zealand's decorations and insignia. You see them there, photographed by Millie Pilkington, quite a well-known royal photographer. And this is to coincide with the announcement from Buckingham Palace this morning that the King and Queen will be going on a tour of Australia and Samoa in October, but New Zealand's not happening due to the King's ongoing cancer treatment. I'm also told that the engagement's going to be limited. Usually with the royal tour, it's, you know, they do 8 engagements a day, roughly. So I suspect it's going to be a lot less engagements per day, but we'll have to wait and see how he gets on with that.
It's a bit of a snub for New Zealand. How popular are the royal family down there? I mean, would his visit have really boosted the royals' popularity, do you think?
I think it depends on who you ask. If you look back to January this year, the Australian government shelved plans to become a republic, but of course physically going as monarch is perhaps going to boost the popularity. You just saw that when the Prince and Princess of Wales went with the baby Prince George and Princess Charlotte a few years ago now, but that boosted the popularity of the royals in both Australia and New Zealand. So I think there will be some disappointed monarchists within New Zealand, but I think they're going to be mindful of the fact that the King's still undergoing cancer treatment, and perhaps they'll cut him some slack in that department.
But meanwhile, the royal couple are in the Channel Islands today.
They are. Crown dependencies, relationship going back to since the 1100s. The king known as the Duke of Normandy in the Channel Islands. So although the United Kingdom not getting a bank holiday today because of the Euros loss, both Jersey and Guernsey getting bank holidays because of the King and Queen are visiting. So they're in Jersey today, followed by Guernsey tomorrow. Preparations have been well underway. It's the first visit for King Charles as king to the Channel Islands, as he is, of course, head of state there. They last visited, Charles and Camilla, in 2012, so it's going to be a busy 2 days, because then, of course, it's state opening in Parliament on Wednesday. The Queen's saying the King should slow down. He's clearly not slowing down, so he's packing in a lot of engagement despite his ongoing cancer
just
treatment.
remind us, because the King's speech, the state opening of Parliament, that's when we'll see the King and Queen with their crown jewels on and, you know, lots of pomp and ceremony to look forward to.
Yes, 200 horses, I think 1,100 soldiers will be taking part in that pomp and ceremony down the Mall towards the Palace of Westminster. The King expects to be wearing the imperial state crown as he did the last time it was the state opening of Parliament, but of course a new government and a new Prime Minister for the King as well.
Oh, and we've got a big birthday as well on Wednesday.
We do, the Queen's 77th birthday. So there's actually going to be gun salutes in Hyde Park, a 41 gun salute in Hyde Park for the state opening of Parliament. When I say Hyde Park, I mean Green Park. And then very shortly after, they've got to do it all again because it's the Queen's birthday, and every every birthday of a monarch or a member of the royal family, there is a big gun salute. So it's going to be a very busy day for the King Street Royal Horse Artillery in Green Park, and I believe the Welsh Guards taking part in that ceremonial procession procession down
Good
to
stuff.
Palace of
A
Westminster.
full royal overview from our
Absolutely.
royal correspondent.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much, Cameron Walker.
Thank you very much indeed, Cameron. Beverly Turner, you see, wearing purple.
Oh, that's a
Wearing
coincidence.
purple dress is said to boost your confidence and give you an aura of authority.
That's our Bev.
Yeah,
That's our Bev.
That's our Bev.
Keeping Ben in his place today,
Yeah.
clearly in my purple dress.
Yeah. So tell me about the authority. Ben Leo, Beverly Turner, what authority have you guys got from 9:30 today?
Well, of course, the two big stories, the football and Donald Trump. Excitedly, I'm an Arsenal fan, so we've got Bukayo Saka's PE teacher with us.
Oh, nice.
Who is going to be giving some insight into his childhood, how he was at school, tales about how modest he was, and
But this puts it into context. Saka would be how old? 21 or something? Or
They're all young. That whole team are young, aren't they?
So no time at all since he was at school.
Do you know what? It made me feel old watching it. And I'm 34,
A babe in
35,
arms.
but it made me feel old watching that.
Yeah.
Also, to do Trump, of course, the post-mortem on that. I mean, luckily, could you imagine if the worst happened and he died? I said yesterday it would spark civil war, and I don't use that as a turn of phrase. I could see literal civil war on the streets of America. So not only did Donald Trump dodge a bullet, I feel the US and the world dodged a bullet.
But Beverly, he was literally millimetres, a millimetre from death.
Yeah, and he said, hasn't he, if he hadn't turned his head to look at some data that he was referring to, then he would have been shot in the side of the head. It would have been horrific.
Incredible.
Incredible, really incredible. And obviously, details are still emerging. Who was the shooter? Why was the protection so bad? Like, this should not be allowed to happen. Why was that spot not protected on the top of the roof there? So, we're going to be looking at all of the analysis of that this morning.
Fourth president in America to... Well, the four have been killed, but more have had attempted assassinations. It just makes you wonder why. Why do the Americans seem to want...
Guns.
It's the gun thing, isn't it?
They have access to guns, don't they, in a way that we don't. And interestingly, Trump has come out, hasn't he, and said that he wants this to give rise to a different sort of politics, bringing people together, more unity.
Yeah, a beautiful statement from Melania Trump, his wife, talking about how people just see the political monster and not the father and the music-loving Donald, who she knows. And I think it's a great opportunity for both the left and the right in America and worldwide, I guess, to kind of cool things
Will
down.
it happen, though? I doubt it. I hope so, but I doubt it.
But a lot of that responsibility would lie with people like Donald Trump and the rhetoric that he uses.
Interestingly, he's meant to be giving a speech at the Republican convention this week. He said last night that he has completely scrapped his previous speech, it was going all-out attack on Joe Biden, particularly the southern border immigration problem. He's changed it, so I think you can expect a much more toned-down, unifying speech. We've got his former advisor, Sebastian Gorka, on the show. So.
But I would say this has guaranteed him the presidency.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And we've got a really interesting guy coming on talking about solar panels being rolled out. This is obviously Labour's big thing, and Miliband is obviously just giving the green light to so many what they call solar farms. I don't use the phrase solar farm because I think there's nothing to do with a farm. These sort of solar estates, basically, and there's some residents in one area that we're going to be talking to the spokesperson for the Adlington Group.
OK. Guys, thanks very much indeed. Look forward to all that at 9:30. We will see you bright and early in the morning at 6 o'clock. Have yourself a good day.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week often gives you the chance to start afresh. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't quite caught the memo. Stuck in the same pattern, I'm afraid. We've got another area of low pressure quickly moving its way into southwestern areas today. This is going to be bringing some very heavy rainfall. Thundery, torrential downpours are possible, and as a result, there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales. Certainly some localised flooding and travel disruption is possible, so take care. Some of that rain just pushing into southeastern areas of England as well, but the northern half of the UK faring better today with some sunny spells and temperatures responding to that 20 to 21 degrees Celsius here, so feeling a bit more pleasant and warm. But as we head towards that evening rush hour period, please do again take care, because that area of heavy rain will be moving its way into Wales, parts of the Midlands as well. Certainly something to watch out for before you head home later on. The sunshine across Northern Ireland, Northern England just turning a bit hazier into the afternoon with a cloud around, but generally a few showers across Scotland to watch for, but many of us staying dry here, and certainly the Highlands getting off with a decent amount of sunshine still later on in the evening. Just that cloud lingering across the Northern Isles to make it a bit duller and drizzlier here. The area of rain will slowly push its way northwards, but in some ways grind to a halt across parts of North Wales into northern England over towards Yorkshire and the Humber as well. So some further downpours possible here during the overnight period. With all the cloud, though, it is going to be quite a mild night. Generally, temperatures holding around 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. That rain will just still be lingering around first thing on Tuesday, gradually pushing its way off towards the North Sea. And behind that, we will start to see some sunny spells and showers developing. Some of those showers, again, could be quite heavy, with the risk of further thunderstorms in there, particularly across the eastern portions of England and up towards Scotland as well. Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. Wednesday looks like it could be a slightly drier day for many of us, but there is further rain that will be quickly moving in from the west. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now, time for the best part of the show, Our Greatest Britain, where we share amazing people who do amazing things. And this week, that is Dr. Leo Cheng and Reverend Hilary Cheng.
Well, Dr. Chen regularly serves as a volunteer surgeon aboard the Mercy ships in West Africa and has recently served his 17th mission aboard the ships. He volunteers with his wife, Reverend Hilary Cheng, a Methodist minister in the UK.
Thank you for joining us, and what a privilege. So just briefly explain, what are Mercy ships?
Well, Mercy ship provide world-class surgery on the ship, and the ship then sail to these poorest of the poor country because there's no infrastructure to get road or rail there. And we offer free surgery and also education, training of medical staff, and partner with the local or the host nation to build up their surgical and anesthetic services.